Live tonight from the virtual Nashville Super Speedway. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 13 of the 2021 SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series. And happy that you're with us, as always, on a Monday evening here on RaceSpot TV. We're alongside our producer downstairs. My name is Evan Pasoko, joined by Nolan Rempel in the broadcast booth. Our in-race reporter is Dylan Coyle. And Nolan, 1 week removed from a thrilling all-star race exhibition in Japan, where our very own Dylan Coyle almost got the win. An incredible photo finish with Kyle Trudell. Tonight, though, back to points racing as we get closer and closer to the start of the playoffs.
And points racing at a brand new facility as well. Of course, the Nashville Super Speedway only introduced to iRacing just a couple of weeks ago. The brand new 1.3-mile concrete oval, though, has already seen plenty of races all throughout the iRacing service, whether they be from leagues or hosted racing or otherwise. I tell you what, all the races that I've seen so far in this track, Evan, they have been absolutely thrillers to watch. So I would expect nothing different from the 35 cars getting set to rumble away here tonight.
And it continues a streak of a lot of Cup Series racing in a row. Got a while until we have an off week. I think about 6 more straight weeks, if you count tonight, before these drivers have a break. So this middle portion of the calendar comes fast and it comes furious. You take a look at the standings and the schedule. Of course, an all-star race last week, non-points, but Nashville tonight, then Pocono, Road America, Atlanta, and New Hampshire, all back-to-back, and then a slight break before we close out the regular season and go playoff racing when we get to September. Let's talk about what the playoff points look like coming into this evening. Of course, race winners continues to be the key. Matt Danson at Sonoma got his second race win of the year, so that keeps him in that bubble on the left-hand side of your screen. Race winners locked in right now, 8 different race winners, meaning that 8 positions in on points. The only caveat is that Daniel Eberhardt, who is the number 8 driver in the playoff points, does need to get up a few spots in points. You got to be a top 25 car for your win to count. Right now, he's only 28, so tentatively, yes, he's in. But if the season were to end tonight, he would be on the outside. So he does have some stuff for fight for. And, you talk about the fact, Nolan, that this is a brand new racetrack. This could be an opportunity for some of the names on the right-hand side of your screen to get a win, right? It's a new challenge, new to the iRacing service. Not everybody has a ton of time on this racetrack, so it might eliminate some of that experience that some other drivers go back on. It's just such a unique track, right? We talk about how a bulk of the calendar at these intermediate tracks is the same track over and over. This looks like an intermediate, but it is very unique. 1.333 miles in length, relatively low banking at 14 degrees as we take a live look at qualifying. But the big thing is it's a concrete surface, and you don't really get that anywhere else at a high-speed track like this outside of Dover. So that's something that makes this racetrack so unique. These drivers are using the high horsepower, low downforce package. A lot of brake going to be used. I think it's a fun challenge and could produce maybe a first winner.
It very much could. It's a very, very fun track, and one that even NASCAR themselves is starting to experiment going with again. Of course, they used to run at this facility back for what is now known as the NASCAR Xfinity Series up until 2011, and the Truck Series until 2011 as well. The Cup Series, though, made their very first race just this past weekend for the Ally 400. Kyle Larson, of course, winning that race in his number 42 machine for the Hendrick Motorsports crew. So it's a very unique track, and one that's got a lot of history behind it, and no doubt a lot of history waiting to be written as well, as the track finally makes a long anticipated return, and one that I think we're all very pleased to see. And the fact that it's on the iRacing service as well, that's just the cherry on top of the cake.
This could be a long race as well on the stopwatch. It is less than a mile and a half, but again, because of the surface and the banking, your lap times take about intermediate racetrack length, right? Looking at the 30-second range when we going to get a couple of laps on the tires. So the 150 laps scheduled for tonight's SimSeats 200 could be a pretty long race on the stopwatch. Always got to keep an eye on that 2-hour time limit. That played a factor in the last oval race we were at, where Brian Chambliss won based on the clock late in the race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the SimSeats 300. But single car qualifying just wrapping up now. We have 36 drivers attempting to qualify for this race, which means that nobody will be sent home and all of the drivers will make the show. Always comfortable when you know you're going to be in it and don't have to go back on relegation points. But qualified has drawn to a close. Let's go trackside and take a look at your SimSeats starting grid in Nashville. Michael Araya on pole position tonight at 29.203. He'll bring us to the green flag alongside the number 52 of Sean Casto. Joseph Tice, Brandon Bowie will double up at row number 2, 3rd, and 4th, with Andrew Friedage and Cody Harris the top 6.
Chris Rabel and Daniel Everhart line up on row number 4 with Sam Mieto and Kyle Trudell to round out the top 10 of tonight's 36-car grid. Grant Davis and Jeremy Miller sitting just 1/10 back from your race leader in 11th and 12th.
Bradley Burke and Thomas George on row number 7 with Trey Browning and Jared Weinmaster 15th and 16th position. Nick Silva rolling from 17th and Marius Leschinski in 18th.
In 19th, Nicholas Mara and Ross Cato line it up 2/10 back from your current leader of Lariah. Rhett McBride in 21st, and that of de Blasio in 22nd. Matt Danson and Sean Kalis rounded out 23rd and 24th.
And continuing on down, the final group of drivers to take times in qualifying, Dylan Coyle and Matthew Mara, 25th and 26th, just ahead of Tom Morano in 27th, and Braden Whitaker 28th, and then a subpar duo of Trevin Valderrama and Steve Soa, your top 30 cars in queue.
And now only drivers that have not set times on the day so far, including the likes of Dylan Jones, David Washington, Kyle Kamer, Eric Stanford, William Schmidt, and Steve Durham will round out the 36-car grid today as they start to line themselves up behind the good old iRacing safety car that we get set to go racing here from Nashville.
Looked at the bottom at your SimSeats starting grid since 2009. SimSeats has been designing and fabricating high-quality, made-in-the-USA driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey iRacing packages, and custom fabrication. Their customer base includes all racers from the amateur to the pro ranks, and everyone on the SimSeats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Join SimSeats for the thrill of racing at any time, in any car, and on any track by visiting sim-seats.com to learn more. So an inaugural pace lap here at the Nashville Super Speedway. Sold out crowd on attendance for yesterday's NASCAR Cup Series race here, and happy that you're tuning in with us on RaceSpot TV. Not often do we get a new oval on the calendar in NASCAR Cup Series racing, and let's see if we can dial up our in-race reporter Dylan Coyle, who's reminding everybody else in driver chat that he finished second in the All-Star race. Dylan, what you thinking tonight for Nashville?
I am kind of excited to see what's going on at Nashville in this race. You know, it's a very quick pace lap. We're almost ready to go green. No one knows what to expect. I think that's the cool part. I mean, Matt Danson is starting 23rd. I'm right behind Danson. That's a weird feeling, but I know it's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of cautions, though.
Pace car gave it down to the safety of pit road this time, and the field is in the hands of the number 44 machine of Michael Araya, looking for his first win of 2021 from Nashville. We say, let's go racing from Nashville. The clean opening lap for the 44 of Lariah, side by side, fifth on back.
Side by side, fifth place on back indeed. And Andrew Freenash, three-time winner so far this season, looking to grow, is trying to find his way up the inside of Joseph Tice. That number 5 car, like I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, really pulling the outside groove. That outside line will play in a big role in the opening stages of this race. The concrete line, though, and right on the inside, it could really play in a bigger role as we get further and further into these runs, and the outside line tends to fade away. Tice is still hanging strong off of 4.
doing his job of staying in the conversation. Tice down 3 from the start of this race, so he wants to hold strong, but up on the outside, going to lose out that position to Friedage, move him down to P6. Just a little bit further on down the line, Kyle Trudell's number 7 is on the inside. That's the 27 to Jeremy Miller up top as you ride with Trudell, winner from last week of the All-Star.
Trudell's looking to kick off points races again, running, trying to have a run here and potentially getting another race win here today. Currently sitting up in 8th, trying to complete a pass of Jeremy Miller, but slides up from the bottom line, diving into the corners. Might work at a place at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. It's a very different story, though, when you get around to the 1.3 mile super speedway.
Yeah, it's funny because, we talk about, the name Nashville Super Speedway, a little bit deceptive. The conventional definition of a super speedway is what we think of a Daytona and Talladega, but basically anything over a mile is a super speedway on paper, but it doesn't race like a Charlotte or a Texas. A lot of drivers said it actually races like a bit of a short track, and that's just a combination of the surface, the banking, and as well the package, right? This isn't one of those flat foot races that we're somewhat used to seeing at racetracks that look like that this season. These drivers do have to work quite a little bit, and I heard some rumors of maybe some drivers short shifted or whatnot during the practice session. Not sure if that's going to be something to do long term, but we're on board with Cato here in 21st. Just listen as they go off into turn number 1. Off throttle time. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a lot of fun as a driver, too. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but it's a lot of fun as a driver trying to deal with all of the braking and basically all of the kind of the shuffling. I think everyone's a little confused on what the best line is.
Up in front, Daniel Eberhardt of the 90 car is trying to find his way around the outside of Jeremy Miller. Tice has meanwhile since cleared the 27 machine. San Diego's trying to find the runaround as well as Eberhardt gets a huge head of steam. Jeremy Miller with a terrible run out of turn 2. He's going to lose 2 spots here, and San Diego trying to fight the outside line as they go down to the 3. Really pinching in the 27 car, keeping him from being able to get a run out of these corners right up to the wall.
Yeah, for the most part, that outside has been good to Miller. Miller has been able to pick up a few positions up 3 from the start of the race on that line, but we'll see how this reflects what it was like in real life, where drivers would use the bottom early, but as the run would go on, they'd work their way up. Of course, with it being one of the newest tracks, I guess the newest track on the oval side to the iRacing service, it does have that multi-groove racing built into it, so we'll see how long it takes for these drivers to widen things out. You're looking off of the back of Miller on the right-hand side of your screen in position number 10. He's kind of the last car single file of these race leaders who have been able to sort it out, and looking at the battle for 11th and 12th behind. That's Chris Rabel up on the outside. Thomas George about 2.3 seconds off of the race lead.
And man, big contact as well for George and Rabel as well, coming down into turn number 3. Number 9 car giving the 29 a little bit of a door check there as they came down that back straightaway. Rabel almost repaying the favor as they come off of turn number 4. So already starting to get physical, very much like we talked about earlier, like you do at a short track. Now, of course, you could go for moves like the bump and run, muscling somebody out of the groove at a track like this. Of course, that does mean if it happens to go wrong, the speed at which they're wrecking is going to be a lot higher, and therefore the amount of damage going to be done to both drivers' cars is going to be, it's going to be responded in kind as well.
We're just looking at the speed difference, right? When you have a package at a track that races like this, keep an eye on the speed difference. So, as we watch this group, Chris Rabel off it into turn 1, he tops out at 186. He's going to go all the way down to 132 in the center of corners 1 and 2, right? That's nearly 44 miles per hour of a difference, center of the corner versus the end of the straightaway. Just makes it that much more challenging for drivers to be able to wrestle these cars and to figure it out. There was a lot of driver input that could make a difference here in this race. Of course, as the battling goes on mid-pack, there's the number 48 machine. Hard to miss it. Looking exactly like the entry of Alex Bowman this past weekend for Jared Winemaster. He got the front row seat right now with the battle between Leschinski and Silver. You're not missing anything up front. Your top 16, left-hand side of your screen. You can see those intervals all the time. Mariah continues to lead as now it's the 3 car of Silver on the inside. He looks to finally get around the 03. Leschinski holds strong up on the outside.
These two guys have been side by side for the better portion of the last, I want to say at least the last 7-8 laps or so. I mean, they have not let each other go in the slightest. Nobody's wanted to quite lift just yet, but you can see because they're side by side, they cannot get the line underneath these corners, and you can tell the gap that started to form just up to these cars up in front. It is, we're talking about a second now, which it's not a lot on a road course, but it is a lifetime on an oval track like this one. They finally do get single file. Nick Silver comes out on top in the battle for 14th. Potentially, though, Leshinsky might have stayed for long, as you saw there. Jared Weinmeister tried to have a look down to the through the tri-oval.
He's doing a good job of being aggressive enough early in this race, holding from 16th spot where he started, but you know, all the guys in front of him, Leshinsky and Silver, those are all guys that have been making passes. So he obviously, seeing cars go around him, wants to try to figure something out. But I know there was a lot of concern pre-race from drivers discussing, you know, is this thing going to go green? Are we going to have a lot of yellows? A pretty good start once things get spread out. Maybe if you were a little bit too conservative early in the run, you're going to be kicking yourself. Jared drove it in hard that time into the corner, but it is going to hurt him off. And the race leader is ripped down the back straightaway. You can see at the top, about 15 or so single file. In fact, most of the field now single filed out. And Mariah, you can clearly see, pulled away just a little bit from new second place runner Andrew Farinas, who was able to just make the move on Bowie a lap ago.
A lot of the field is single filed out now. I think a lot of these guys are starting to realize here that you're not going to gain anything by being able to run with each other side by side like this. Although Joseph Ty is one of the drivers that might not be getting that message. He tried to have a run at Cody Harrison. Well, now you can see he's under fire from Sam Nieto trying to fight the outside groove. So it goes to show that you find yourself out of line, you're going to be stuck out of line for some time. Now the Edo's though is one at the disadvantage because Daniel Eberhard is trying to make a run as well on both of these drivers. And we've been seeing this well here. I want to point out as well, Evan, that we've been seeing a couple of cars dipping their wheels down onto the asphalt strip just at the bottom of the tri-oval. Now you can obviously get away with doing that sort of thing at tracks like Kansas, Kentucky, Chicagoland, you know, places where it's commonplace the racing line didn't tell you to go down there. Nashville Super Speedway, I would argue though, not one of those places where you can really get away with that. The transition is too severe. You end up just scrubbing more time than you gain.
Yeah, we've seen drivers get damaged. You know, pre-race, Ryan Blaney got damaged just making a rough transition from the apron to the racetrack. I forget who it was, but somebody else spun around and was very careful. It might have been Priest to make sure that when he turned that car back around, he didn't go to the apron. At a lot of these intermediate racetracks, you use that apron, right? In fact, at most of them, you'll go down to the apron. Some tracks more than others, like a Kansas, you'll really go down and dig on the front straightaway, but there is no progressive banking on that apron. A lot of the time, you'll go from, you know, the banking to the racetrack, and then it'll be a little bit gradual before it gets to flat below the yellow line. Not here at Nashville. That's a 14-degree difference. And, you can certainly tear up the race car. I don't know if it would tear up the car in sim, but it would certainly unsettle the car enough that I don't think it would be a move that you would want to make. As we go on board with Matthew Mara, the VR goggles in full use, right-hand side of your screen. See a lot of radio chatter, probably on the radio with his brother Nick, the other half of Mara Motorsports. And Matthew down a handful of spots, started this race in 26th position. But after a big slide that last lap, now down in 33rd and 34th. So he's gotten suckled out to the outside line. And look at all the wheel input. Better that time off of 4, but this end of the racetrack here in 1 and 2 appears to be where he's struggling to find grip. The sun has come out, and it is raising that track temperature. You'll notice that if you had seen on the grid, very cloudy, overcast conditions. That's the way it was for much of the practice session earlier today, and drivers really appreciated that. It kept track temps down into the 90s. The atmospheric temp is 72 degrees Fahrenheit, but as the sun has broken out, racetrack's getting hotter and hotter, and well, that makes grip that much more of a premium, especially racing in the middle of the afternoon.
It has recently broken into the triple digits as well for the track temperatures. It's currently sitting at 100 degrees Fahrenheit exactly. It was 101 just a brief second ago, so we'll have to keep an eye on how that will no doubt be influencing how these battles tend to play out all over the field. Take a look up front to this big fight with Sam Nieto off of turn number 4, nearly making contact with Daniel Eberhard on his inside. That number 2 car is definitely having to work for these positions. He's just put himself up to 6th place. And 90 car is still trying to fight the inside groove, though. And don't forget, Leshinsky was also still in the fierce fight just behind these guys, once again going at it with Nick Silver.
That's the thing that I think about this racetrack. It's a new challenge, but it gives some to the drivers. And you're able to have battles like this. Nieto up 3 spots from the start of the race as he tries to stay in the wake of Daniel Eberhard up the road. Eberhard also up 2 positions from the get-go, so all of these passes had to be at the expense of somebody, right? And Joseph Tice, who's the 4th car in this pack, you see that Hot Wheels number 5 Chevrolet, he is down 6 spots from the start, down to 9th, and Chris Rabel has also dropped out of the top 10. We saw his number 29 a little bit earlier. So some comers, some goers in the opening 23 laps here in Lebanon, Tennessee.
So far, the most spots gained in this race is actually going to Steve Durham, up 5 where he started today, although that still only puts him 31st. Actually, I say that again. I'll correct myself. Dylan Jones on the most, +7 on the day, along with Kyle Kamer and Eric Stanford, one of the drivers to lose the most on the day. Well, that would unfortunately be Matthew Mara, down 8, as you mentioned, down a handful of spots as well. So while there are a lot of guys that haven't moved up, it's worth noting here that a lot of the guys that have moved up a lot of spots, they're all in that bottom third. Everybody up here in this top grouping, though, they've only moved up 1, 2, maybe 3 each.
It's been tough for drivers to make big moves. You talk about Dylan Jones's +7 is the biggest. Eric Stanford just a lap ago passed another car, so he's now +8 for the biggest mover. Those are all cars who, started towards the rear and or didn't qualify, so there's no surprise that those names could make passes in the 30s and the 20s, but even in a normal race at this point, you're normally talking about at least somebody's up a dozen spots from traffic. So it goes to show how hard these drivers are working. And I don't think that just because there's not a ton of passes doesn't mean that it's hard to pass the track. I think it also just means that it's not one clear-cut line. It's not like someone's getting forced out to the outside and then they're screwed, right? People are able to fight back, which makes those passes a little bit more difficult lap after lap. But, watching these cars through the top 10, through the top 5, that's at number 32, Machida Nicholas Mara. Right there as he rides in 22nd, down 3 from where he started, ahead of Danson, ahead of Jones. Matt Danson, a big name, of course. We talk about the road courses and how big those have been for the Logitech G Altus Esports entry, your IRAP's Winter Series champion. Comes off that Winter Championship, Nolan, and then doesn't get any wins through the opening 9 weeks of SimSeats Cup Series competition. But in a brilliant battle against Cody Harris, hangs on to win at Coda. And then, of course, backed it up with a 2nd straight road win for our last points race 2 weeks out at Sonoma. All of a sudden, in the course of 3 weeks, he goes from borderline in the points to being the only other multi-time winner not named Andrew Frinage. He's still trying to figure out the oval cars in these, or the oval tracks, I should say, in these Cup cars. They drive very differently than the Xfinity Series machines, in which he had 2 race wins en route to that championship over the course of last winter, but looking to make improvements, and was very honest early tonight that this new racetrack could be a challenge for him.
It goes to show that a lot of different tracks play into people's strengths. Danson is very much a road course racer. We've seen how powerful he can be at the road courses, and unfortunately just hasn't been able to utilize that same momentum here on the ovals. But the more races he does in this series and this car, the more experience he's going to get. And I'm pretty sure slowly and surely we're going to be seeing him starting to climb up through the ranks. We've seen it before in series like this, and no doubt we can see it again. If Danson can win at the road courses, which are arguably some of the most difficult tracks possible to drive in these Cup cars, there's no doubt in my mind that he can get these wins on the oval. He just needs to manage to figure out how they work and make these start putting up together some top 10s, top 5s, maybe a couple podium finishes, and maybe a trip or 2 to victory lane as well.
And he's been very open as well that qualifying has been the problem for him. Of course, there is 2/3 of the After the Turns podcast group with Danson and Nick Mara in this battle. Of course, Matt Mara a little bit further down was happy to join those guys on the show last week, and we'll encourage everybody to tune in tomorrow night at 11 o'clock Eastern to listen in the official podcast of RSR. But Matt has been honest that qualifying is what needs to improve. He started this race 23rd. He runs 22nd. So he's able to pick up spots, but he puts himself at a big disadvantage based on the poor Q effort at the start of the night. His 29.518 was more than 0.3 of a second off of the pole time that was set by Michael Laraya, who has led every single lap of this race thus far. However, the interval on the left-hand side of your screen between positions 1 and 2 has started to close in just a little bit. Andrew Ferdinand applying some heat in the battle for the race lead. 1 and 2 are more than a second ahead of Brandon Bowie down in third, but Ferdinand within about 6 car lengths now, the closest the battle for the race lead has been between these two.
Just under a quarter of a second. It's continuing to close in as well. And we've seen this before. Andrew Friedrich is very good on these longer runs. I think now that we're in that longer stretch here, he's starting to really stretch his legs here and utilize the pace that he has from saving some of the tires earlier on in this race. So we're already a fifth of the way through, and now we start to close pressure. Look at that, now under 0.2 of a second up to race leader Michael Araya.
When they talk about how critical this could be for Michael Araya, no race wins, but pretty comfortably into the playoffs, right? He comes into the seeming 4th in normal points, but when you factor in all the race winners, that bumps him all the way down to 10th. Now, he's not that worried. His 299 points is well ahead of the 206 that's on the cut line, so 93 points to the good is very safe for Michael. But of course, you would like bonus points, and with each race win you get in the regular season, you get 3 bonus points to start the round of 16. So a win would not only do good strategically for points, but that would be a great confidence booster for Laraya. But he has got the best of the best on his bumper. Fridaj has arrived on the scene for the battle for the race lead. Looking to the inside, doesn't force the issue. And Laraya shuts the door for now. He's led all 34. Will he lead number 35? Fridaj a car length off.
I like what Friedrich is doing here. He's being nice and patient. He's not electing to make this move unless he knows for certain he can pull it off. He's got himself a second back to Brandon Bowie, and he knows he can't afford to be wasting a lot of time with Michael Araya side by side, because then he's going to lose that long run advantage that he's been taking advantage of for the entirety of the run so far. And it's also going to put him within striking distance of Brandon Bowie side by side for too long. He's going to have another run here down in the 1 and 2. Tries to go to the inside of Michael Araya. Can he get the inside group to work for him, though? Doesn't look like he will. Araya still with that run. That is, he so desperately needs off of turn 2, but it's not going to be enough this time around to clear. Friedrich down the inside of 3.
And side by side for the race lead at lap number 36. But we talked about the difficulty for drivers to make passes, and I said it's probably because this is a racetrack that you can fight back at, and Laraya is doing just that. Not even going to allow Ferinaj to lead lap number 36. But now on the inside of 1 and 2, he'll roll back into the throttle. Lap traffic on the horizon, and again Laraya stronger on the outside, keeping it O's in front. Now what this is going to do is the longer they go side by side, the better this will be for Brandon Bowie and Daniel Eberhardt. That duo in 3rd and 4th are trying to close in for the top spot, as this time at a 4, Fridaj almost all the way clear. He'll get his first lap led of the race with 37 laps down.
But look at how long it's all falling apart. I mean, these guys have been spending the last 36 laps trying to build up that second gap over Bowie. They've completely taken all of that away in just 2 laps here. And now Loraine's going to take it back. So the gap is now under half a second between Brandon Bowie. All that time that you have now spent trying to build up that race lead, it's all been shot in the foot. Brandon Bowie, this is exactly what he wants to see. It could involve him to be able to close on up even more and be able to maybe take away the race lead. At the moment, these 2 drivers, Freenash and Laraya, are running 31.2s. Brandon Bowie, he's 0.2 a lap quicker than your 2 leaders.
And the lap before, he was 0.4 of a lap quicker. So that goes to show you how much that inability from the car on the outside to go to the bottom of the racetrack in the center of the corner, and for the car on the bottom, the inability to enter wide and exit wide, how much time that costs them. Again, Frinaj with a good look. This time he will do it. Laraya tucks in line. And the race lead now sole possession to Andrew Frinaj. He takes control at lap number 40 of 150, and I have to wonder if we're not that far away from pit stops. I would think, and I'm not a driver, so maybe we'll ask Dylan Coyle about this one. I would think a 1-stopper's pretty far stretched. Are we looking at a 2-stopper tonight and just kind of hit it at the 50s?
Oh yeah, 2-stopper indeed. Basically, I've got around 26 laps remaining of fuel, and the tires hate me at this point. So, we might have a car up into the wall right in front of me, by the way, guys.
No caution for the moment. Things are calm. Some issues even further towards the front of the field as well, but it looks like we're going to get away with that one without incident. And I believe it was some nearly 4 wide up the road from you, and it was Valderrama who nearly got into the fence, but he was just hitting the eject button, not wanting to be a part of the 4 wide off and into the corner. And look at this group of drivers. The battle for second is on as Bowie down to the inside of Lariah. This is where that 44 car can get eaten up. He led so much of this race, but because he actually fought back against Farinaj for so long, Nolan, it may hurt him. If he just let Andrew go, he'd be cruising right now in P2 about a second ahead of this trio behind, but instead, he fought him hard, he made him work for it, and look at the mess that Lariah has invited upon himself as they get a push by Daniel Eberhardt to turn 1.
Not to mention, he burned all his stuff up in the early run there, Evan, trying to build that 1 second gap that we saw by the time Farinaj had caught him. So he spent all his tires just building the gap, so he had nothing left by the time Farinaj actually got to him. And he, like you said, he probably still would have been fine had he just let him pass, but he decided to fight it even more. Now he really does have nothing left. So he is in a really precarious position at the moment, and he's at a risk of being freight trained here if Daniel Eberhardt decides to get a little too impatient.
Lariah able to defend for the moment, but it is not just, Bowie and Eberhardt, in fact, with that push on the outside past Bowie, but now it's Bowie's teammate, Sean Casto, race winner from a couple of weeks back at Talladega in the mix. Here comes Sam Nieto, here comes Kyle Trudell. I mean, all of a sudden, your top 10 go from way spread out to having the top 7 cars on track separated by less than 1.5 seconds. Farinaj check it out, though, towards the front of the field. Best lap of the race was set by Michael Lariah. It was a 29.274. The fastest last lap of the race set by Michael Lariah, a 30.932. So just under 2 seconds of fall off is going to be the encouragement to Dylan's point that drivers are going to want tires before they necessarily hit that fuel mark. And I'm always a fan of when the math is nice and easy. If it's a 150 lap race, pretty easy. Come down pit road around lap 50, around lap 100. Pretty safe way to split it into 2s. We'll see who wants to go off cycle, though. Thomas George is down pit road from 11th, and he is your first race leader to come down pit road.
And he was coming in from, like you said, that 11th position, so he's going to be about 2 seconds a lap quicker now. So the field is going to be responding in kind here very, very quickly. And Thomas George could see himself moving up by quite a few spots here if he can find some clean air to work with on pit exit at the moment. I am looking back, I see Nick Silver from 10th making his trip down to pit road. So as I predicted, more and more drivers here in these next couple laps are going to be coming down the lane when they see that majority of the field is going to be coming in and are going to be that much faster.
Well, guys, for people in positions who have to gamble, if you're hoping to get a better spot, like maybe me, I'm not sure if I'll do this yet, but I'm all the way back in the field. Why not just stick it out and hope that a yellow comes out? Maybe I get lucky, gain a bunch of positions. Don't know if I'm necessarily going to do that just because of how much the speed really shows, but it could work out for drivers who are a little bit in front of me. We don't know the strategy for everybody yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if some go off cycle and maybe wait another 18 laps to go in.
Yeah, we'll see. We have some drivers on the short end. Naturally, some drivers are going to be on the long end of that. So Valderrama, Matt Mara, Nick Silver also down pit road, but still shy of that actual 1/3 marker distance. And you can see all of this mess mid-pack. Brett McBride says that he's going to be coming down pit road from 19th position, so he's on in. Looking at the battle.
Oh, no, he's not. He's in the sand trap, actually, opening into the infield. That's going to be a penalty for sure. He missed pit entry altogether.
And it wasn't particularly close. One thing about a new racetrack is make sure you practice green flag pit entry. And Brett McBride was just way too aggressive that he missed it by a mile. And he made a decision here. At this point, he's locked up. He knows he's not going to make it to pit road. He can either drive back onto the racetrack and go around and serve no time penalty, but give up a bunch of time, or take the penalty. He wants to eat the penalty as more cars are down. Bowie, Tice, Browning, Miller, Burke, and Leschinski all down for service.
And one more driver just saw himself coming out onto the track. It looks as though Nicholas Mara has had some major struggles. Somehow, that was not a caution, despite him coming back onto the racetrack when it was virtually stopped. We're talking 40 miles an hour compared to everybody else going over 100 miles an hour faster than him. So how that was not a caution is beyond me. But still, it just goes to show that this is a very difficult pit entry. And I I'm not going to say it's hacking up at everybody, but I also want to say there is a reason why the creators of this track in the real world put that access road in 3 and 4.
4 cars from the front going to be coming down pit road, and now your race leader is in. Andrew Farinaj from the top position. Michael Araya will not pit. He'll cycle to the race lead, but Daniel Eberhardt is in. Sam Nieto is in. Cody Harris is in. So 1, 3, 4, and 5 all dive to pit road. Pretty much right on the money at 1/3 distance, and now we will see Michael Araya responding that he is going to come down pit road. So let's see how the 1-lap undercut makes a difference. Does it give them about a 2-second jump? Araya was about a half a second behind Farinaj before the pit stops. He's in this time. Let's keep an eye and see where they blend back out.
44 car still has a very long way to go before he reaches this pit stall, all the way at the tail end of pit road. There's the race off pit road. Andrew Farinaj looking to pick up a couple spots, has that inside for the pit exit road through 1 and 2, which in iRacing, much like Indianapolis, you do have to take. Same with Homestead Miami Speedway. Nicholas Marr nearly got squeezed out onto the grass there by, I believe, that might have been Sam Nieto down on the inside. So a close call for a couple of guys here on this pit stop window. There is Araya taking his stop. It will be a full set of tires, as we predicted. No doubt topping on fuel as well. Out of pit road just about now.
Good shot for the RaceSpot drone, and there is one of your top runners in the 9, Thomas George. Just curious where Araya is going to blend out. Araya is just in the center of 1 and 2, and the 1-lap difference is going to be huge for Andrew Farinaj. There's Araya, the blue car on the inside, way on the horizon. Can't even see him in the shot. Is Andrew Farinaj. Araya is in the center of the corner. Farinaj is coming off of the corner, and that is the difference. They were only a half a second apart when they came down pit road, but the 1-lap difference has lended a huge advantage to Farinaj, and is in a very good position to find himself back towards the front of the field. More cars still needed to pit. There is Matt Danson, who is your current race leader. He is one of, with Eric Stanford diving to pit road, one of 8 drivers who still need to come down pit road. Danson, Davis, Washington, Kamer, Durham, Schmidt, Kalis, and Coyle, the drivers who have yet to pit, and they may just run it all the way to the very max of the fuel. Dylan mentioned the idea of gambling, Nolan, and the advantage here is you hope for a yellow, right? Because you're not going to really get much of an advantage by just staying out there on slow tires. Oh, and there's a spin. Oh, there it is.
I like that.
A car is sideways. It is Trey Browning, and I was about to say that you stay out because when there's cars on fresh tires and cars on old tires, there's always a chance an incident happens. That's why people stay out, and Trey Browning is the driver who goes around in turn 1 and 2. It was a battle for position. There was a disagreement on the radio. I believe Browning and Miller were together. There's the onboard look for the 18. He's not happy. He says that Jeremy Miller dive bombed him. Jeremy Miller said over the radio, I was on the bottom. Let's take a look from the outside.
I have to agree with Miller on this one. While it wasn't much, he had the quarter panel in there, in all fairness, to Jeremy Miller by the time they hit that braking zone. So, I hate to say it, but it wasn't as big of a dive bomb as Trey Brown was making out to be. Now, we were talking about how the problem tends to come when when you got guys on faster tires, obviously getting by guys on older tires. Ironically, they had just passed up Grant Davis, who was on old tires and was currently running 2nd place at the moment behind Matt Danson. He didn't have anything to do with this, though. That was just 2 guys on fresh rubber just getting way too antsy on those tires. A little overconfident, it would seem.
So now everybody's down pit road, and this is interesting because those 8 names that I rattled off had yet to come down pit road, so they are all going to be in for service. Everybody else has been out there for anywhere from 11 to 2 laps. So Thomas George, remember, he was the first car to pit. He pitted only 11 laps ago, but he is pitting again for service. It looks like he may be one of the few drivers who has already pitted that is going to pit again. So he gained a bunch of positions on the short pit, but he felt like at 11 laps on the tires was too much to stay out with, so he pits with those 8 cars who had stayed out. And now you're going to have an interesting situation where most of the top 10 cars in actuality, Nolan, right, everybody who pitted on cycle and had been the top 10 for most of the race, they are going to go back to the race lead in this thing, but they're going to be on about 7 or 8 lap older tires. then the Dansons, then the de Blasios, the Davises of the world, who are going to be just outside of the top 10. This is a real big shot for those cars who gambled. They win, and now they have a real opportunity with good track position and better tires than the cars in front of them to make something happen here.
No idea that would work. That was crazy.
I also want to point out here as well, like you said, you had that one guy that came down when he was already on 11 lap old tires. That's actually a pretty good strategy if you ask me here, Evan, because I'm taking a look at Michael Araya's lap times here, and I'm comparing the second lap, which is the first up to speed lap, in comparison, of course, to the 11th lap. That's 0.8 of a second of difference there. So that could actually prove to be very invaluable on this restart if he can manage to make up a lot of positions here. He's going to be very quick on this restart in comparison to some of these guys further to the tail end of the field.
And the running order, because, you know, some drivers went for the undercut, I made sure to highlight how much of a difference it made in the battle between Farinaj and Laraya, but the undercut helped out several other drivers, right? So Nick Silver pitted 5 laps before Farinaj did, so he's actually ahead of him because he got track position, right? Nick Silver leading this race. There he is in the 3, is on 12-lap old tires, pitted 12 laps ago. Brandon DeBuey on 9-lap old tires, pitted 9 laps ago. So the lower the number of laps on the tires, the shorter or the longer ago they pitted, per se, right? So Trudell in 3rd, 8-lap older tires. Farinaj and Eberhardt, 7-lap old tires. So Farinaj and Eberhardt, based on that run, Nolan, I think if it went green, probably would have cycled back towards the front, but the timing of this yellow is interesting because it allowed some of those drivers who went for the undercut to gain a little bit of track position in their own right now. They're going to be at a tire disadvantage to the cars behind them. Going to be a challenge. But everybody up front going to be at a tire disadvantage to that group that stayed out. I mean, big pickups here. Matt Danson in 11th is plus 12. Kyle Cameron in 13th, plus 20. David Washington in 14th, plus 18 spots. William Schmidt up 20. Steve Durham up 19. That gamble really paid off for them. They've got the fresh rubber, and now they have a real good opportunity to do something with it as we'll come around to take 90 laps to go for the first restart of the evening.
I'd honestly say Matt Danson was one of the biggest winners in all of that. Remember, we talked about earlier how Danson has been saying that qualifying has been his problem. That's why he tends to be stuck further down the order in these races. He was fighting for spots around 25th, 23rd earlier on to this race, and he was stuck there, could not move anywhere, especially on the older rubber. Well, now look at him. He's up there just outside the top 10. He's up with a lot of guys that he knows how to race with as well from his road course experience. He very much could be able to get himself a solid top 10 finish if this gamble continues to play out the way he wants it to.
Also worth noting, not surprised based on the radio chatter that we heard, but neither of the drivers involved in the lap 55 incident have claimed the caution. So that one will go to a post-race review, and they are still talking about it on the radio. So we'll get set for restart with lap number 60 going into the rearview mirror. Nick Silver opts to go to the bottom on the restart. His teammate up top in Brandon DeBuey. Let's see if they try to coordinate things for Keep It Real Esports. Green flag in the air. 90 laps to go from Nashville.
Solid jump from Nick Silver. 2/10 up already on Brandon Bowie, who's going to maintain the inside line. So the Keep It Real drivers able to maintain that bottom side. Farinaj trying to fight the outside from All-Star winner Kyle Trudell. He'll take the 3rd position away. Now Farinaj going to try to make a run for 2nd. We've seen how good Farinaj is on the long runs. Let's see if he's equally as fast here on the short runs.
Despite the control position for the restart, Silver wasn't able to get that far away, but what's happening now is Farinaj, with the better tires of the cars who did not pit that last cycle, is driving through the field. He will clear Brandon DeBuey for 2nd, and now he will set his sights on the race leader. They're side by side for 4th on the back. Here comes the 88.
Farinaj looking for the inside. Nick Silver up top. 5-lap pressure tires for Farinaj, and those are no doubt going to help him take the race lead down for turn number 1. And we saw how Laraya could use the outside line and try to fight this one out as long as he could, but Nick Silver would be able to do no such thing. Farinaj well and truly clear, and in fact checks up Eberhardt on corner exit.
Everhart's tires about 5 laps fresher than Silver's, and that's why Thanati has the run up top. He'll move into second position. The 7 of Trudell making moves up top. He wants to continue his march through. Just keep a half eye on Matt Danson. He hasn't been that loud, but that 05 is the first car on the freshest of freshies back into P10. They aren't slicing through the field quite as quickly as they thought they would, but keep an eye about a dozen laps into this run if they continue to make some moves. Behind this, Sean Casto's a little bit tight. Even Bowie push it up a little bit as that 7 of Trudell makes the pass. And Farinaj, despite the unfortunate timing of the yellow, is pulling away now over the front of the field. His advantage, 3/10.
Taking the Lariah strategy, trying to build that gap really early on here to trying to fend off any late charges coming on later on in the run. 3 wide just behind. Grant Davis and Kyle Cameron both being overtaken by Thomas George, who made a huge run around the outside line. Cameron almost gets sent into turn 3 by Davis. So the battle's starting to pick up in the midfield as well, as we're starting to see more and more drivers of the older tires work their way up through the field. I mean, look at Matt Danson. He's up to 9th place now, plus 14 currently side by side with Sam Nieto just up the road.
Nieto, an interesting case talking, pre-race here. Is a caution going to happen behind your race leaders? And it is Sean Kalis up and into the outside wall in turn number 2. Bradley Burke not very happy with the fact that Kalis came back up the hill. But we will see what happened with this incident. It happens at lap number 66 in this one. We went 55 laps before our first caution of the afternoon. This run just 6 laps. Kalis running in the number 28 position. That's Adam de Blasio on the bottom, and just pushed up a little bit, and the 43 car went around, and as they all avoided, that is why Bradley Burke was not happy. Went to the outside to avoid the 43, but the 43 never locked her down.
Did you see Chris Rabel shoot around the outside line? He was kicking that back end out of the 29 car, trying to avoid Casto as Casto started to slide back up the track. And good thing he gunned it as well. Excuse me, Kalis trying to come up the track. And a good thing, too, because if he hadn't gunned it, he probably would have slammed right into him like Bradley Burke ended up doing. Also involved, actually, in that was actually Braden Whitaker as well as Rhett McBride. They had to check up to avoid this. I believe they might have made a small piece of no-steel contact, but not enough damage on either car that it would really affect them all that much.
And a split call on pit road here. Not everybody in agreement. Keep in mind that all SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series oval races, drivers will have 4 additional sets of tires available. Of course, we said if this race was going green, it was pretty spelled out. Pit at 50, pit at 100, you're good to go. But these drivers are not inside of the field when to go to the end, but they do want tires. They feel like this one may have a lot more start and stop than it did. And there were some cars from the front down pit road. Looks like Tice, Eberhardt, Silver, Bowie, Rabel, Lischinski, Miller, Jones, Burke, Mara, and Kalis, the drivers who were down pit road and getting themselves 4 freshies. For the most part, that's their second trip down pit road tonight. Let's see the perspective of Chris Rabel, race car in front. It looked like he changed his mind, Nolan, about 4 times on that. I'm going to go low, no high, no low, no high, and finally made a decision to sneak by on the outside. A good piece of driving.
It looked like he thought that Kalis wasn't going to be as low as he was. He was trying to aim low. As soon as he realized, though, that Kalis was going to be down on the apron, he immediately tried to jerk the car to the outside, and then had to jerk it even more when he saw that Kalis was going to be there. And, of course, he had cars on his outside as well, which is why as soon as he was clear of the front bumper, he immediately jerked the wheel hard back to the left in an effort to try to just keep the car away from them. And then you saw had to do a full 180-degree rotation all the way to the right just to keep the thing going straight. So I'll tell you what, we've had a couple of really good misses over the year, and I would say that one was probably going to be in the top 5.
Could have been worse. He's able to avoid it, and the strategy plot thickens that much further with this latest cycle of pit stops. I questioned would those drivers with the fresh tires, the freshest of fresh, right? The cars from the back of the pack be able to make moves? The answer was kind of. So the big win there was obviously that the track position they gained by the timing of the yellow. They didn't really gain much on track with the fresh tires, and maybe that goes to show you that 7 laps of difference doesn't allow a 20th placed car, for example, to beat a first placed car in terms of, Friedage and some of the others driving through. But Some of those cars did decide to come back down pit road, others didn't. So somebody like a Matt Danson at a race high P5, Thomas George, Kyle Kamer, Grant Davis, David Washington, all inside of the top 10 for the first time this evening before a restart. So it'll be fun to see how the strategy continues to play out. Kind of a shame that we got that quick yellow there for the battle back in traffic, because they were much more compact, I thought, Nolan, on that restart than they were at the start of the race. Start of the race, your top 3 single filed out, and then eventually 4th got settled, 5th, 6th, 7th got settled, kind of that way. This time through, you actually saw a lot of single filing out in the teens, just at some of the top 10, and those cars in the top 10 were having a great battle for the race lead. We went green long enough for Friedage to go to the lead, and he'll bring us to this next green flag. He chooses the inside for the restart.
Wasn't on the halfway as well already. We've only been at it for about 40 minutes here, and already, we're seeing these guys starting to, I think a little bit more about how this is going to play out, because it's not really as simple as this is. Because now you end up getting towards that final 50 laps here, and you start to have to make that decision. Do you want to elect to come in about 20 laps from now, take the final set of tires, then run it to the end, or do you want to run it out a full 50 laps now in case it goes green, and then maybe have the car be a bit lighter because you don't have as much fuel in the thing later on? It's these various little factors that these drivers now have to start to consider, because with these 2 cautions, this race is not as cut and dry as it would have seemed at the start of the race.
We'll see how Friedage can handle this. Clearly, looks like the best car in the field. The mixing of the strategies be the thing that keeps him on his toes. Pace car off it in, 70 laps down, 80 laps to go. In the Sim Seats 200 from Nashville. Green flag back in the air.
Look at the launch from Friedage, almost half a second right out of the gate. Now, if Michael Araya cannot get past Kyle Trudeau quickly here, that gap could very easily grow as this goes on. So it's a 1-car break up in front. Still side by side, though, for 2nd and 3rd. Laraya's not willing to let Trudeau go.
He wants to make this one difficult, but Trudell, in the end, does win out in that exchange. So he'll sit in the number 2 position for the moment, trailed by Laraya, who, after qualifying on the pole, led for the opening 36, 37 or so laps of this race, now wants to get his way back. He'll look to the inside of the 7, but that outside gets the run off the corner. Good run, just not the best place for that run to come from, and the 44 isn't able to tuck in line, back in traffic, a little bit of contact with Daniel Eberhardt and company, but everything is fine as you can see that group work off of turn 4.
So Hornets has the cars in the midfield as well. They're almost 4 wide right around Steve Durham, who's dropping like a stone at the moment all the way down the running order. And they are still 3 wide. They've been 3 wide for about the last 2 laps or so here. Chris Rabel just losing out to Dylan C. Jones, goes up 3 spots in just this 1 corner. So this is where a lot of these guys that came down under that last caution are situated at the moment. I think this is the result of a lot of guys on a lot of fresh tires at the moment, trying to utilize that fresh rubber as best they can now in an effort to make their run through the field before they lose that advantage.
Matthew Barra picking up spots from the last time we checked in. There are 29 of the 36 cars who started this race still on the lead lap. Soa, Valderrama, the only retirees. At the back of the field, there are 5 cars a lap down, being Stanford Browning, Nick Barra, McBride, and Moreno fighting for the lucky dog position for the next yellow. And look at this, directly in front of Mara. A lot of contact between Steve Durham and Jeremy Miller, who rubs his way through. Now trying to go 3 wide. That door gets shut by the 5 at Tyson. This mid-pack awfully crazy.
You had seen Steve Durham try to throw that block on Matthew Mara. Mara was not having anything of it, though. Went to the outside wall and took that position with dominance down at the turn number 1. Certainly letting him know who was boss out of that overtake. So Durham continues to plummet down through the running order. As you can just see all the hornet's nest of chaos right in front of these guys. If you take a look at these guys in front, Jeremy Miller and Joseph Tice, they've almost been banging doors every single corner exit for the last few laps.
And now it's Rabel, the 29 car, just ahead of Miller, trying to work his way to the inside of Jaron Winemaster. That fight for 20th and 21st. Get to the inside in turn number 3, and doesn't matter how much momentum you have in, that outside car is always able to fight back as the Shade kicks back in down at this end of the racetrack in 1 and 2. Brought that track temp that was as high as 101 earlier in the evening back down to 93, but not enough grip put back into the racetrack to allow Windmaster to fight back up top. That spot goes to Rabel, and Miller next on deck. He'll look to the inside in 3.
Looking for the inside, the 27 car getting really pinched down by the 40 though. Jared Weinmaster. Here comes Morrow, but the head stand caution flag is out. One car sideways out of turn number 4. Steve Durham appears to be the cause of the yellow flag, and it seems like he was just the middle person in a big stack up here in the middle of the field, actually, here, Evan, involving Rhett McBride and Sean Kalist.
Yeah, something happened between Durham and McBride for that incident. There's a discussion going on the radio. Rhett McBride is not happy. Let's take a look. I mean, Durham gets into the back of him, checks him up, and then it's Kalist who turns Durham around. I'm just trying to look for comparison's sake. At the moment of contact, Rhett McBride was doing 122 miles an hour in the center of the corner. The slowest he ever got the last time in 3 and 4 was 134. So for whatever reason, Rhett McBride was about 10 miles an hour slower. I don't know what the issue was, and there just wasn't time for Durham to check up.
And the same deal for Sean Kalist, because the checkup from Durham was even more so than Durham's was to McBride. So Sean Kalist, unfortunately for the 43 car, he just had nowhere to go there, just caught in the middle. I mean, we've seen it before at a track like this where it's concrete and it's already hard enough to turn the car. You're having to slow down 40 plus miles an hour. When you have a big checkup like that, you cannot just alter your line as easy as you would be able to do a track like, say, Kentucky Speedway. So that is the reason for the crash. A lot of drivers in pit road, though, including Freenosh, Trudell, Lariah, and more.
And Coyle.
And Dylan Coyle's down as well. A lot more cars in this time than the last time through, but basically anybody that came down the last yellow after the very short run not pitting this time. But Lariah, Freenosh, Harris, Nieto, some of the big names. Tice also down pit road. About 12 drivers going to stay out. Everybody else is in, and Sean Casto, with the oldest tires in the field at 29 laps old, will put his number 52 Chevy to the race lead ahead of Daniel Eberhard in second.
We're now past that halfway point as well. We're coming to 70 laps to go here. So these drivers are now no doubt starting to think more and more about when they want to come in for that final stop. Because if you want to make it to the end on tires, you absolutely still have to come in. I believe we are still good on fuel. I'm thinking here, Dylan, maybe you could fill me in more on that, but tires, I think you still have to make another stop.
Well, think about it this way. A Cup Series car can hold around 80 to 85. A full tank can go around 80 to 85 miles, give or take other factors. This track is 1.33 miles long. Do a little bit of math, and with 70 or so laps to go, you're basically about to get 90-ish miles left, 95 miles left. So it's a stretch. I don't think it's going to be possible to say that there's not going to be anything else that happens for the rest of this race. But if somebody wants to go all fuel save mode, then they can do that. I just don't think it's necessarily the smart move from here. Now, if we were at lap 90 and about to restart, that may be a different story. You could pretty much go the entire way on a single full tank of fuel. The tires would wear out significantly, but at that point anyway, if there's no cautions, it's almost the better decision to go for it. So a lot of strategies at play, a little bit more than I think any of us thought before the first caution.
Just wondering, Dylan, as a driver, first quarter or whatever, first third of the race, goes green without incident, no real incidents and no real close calls either. You blink and now this is the third caution within 21 laps. I mean, do you even have faith that it's going to go green to the end, or is this one of those cases where once you get one yellow towards halfway, it's kind of hard to break out of that, and you have to start thinking that this thing might be kind of stop and start?
I think we're going to start to see things calm down a little bit more. In general, it's just crazy right now, simply because it's the midpoint of the race. There's a bunch of stuff going. Did Tom just say, Evan, Did Tom just say that $50 was going to the All-Star Race winner?
Yeah, $50 plus
You're
the
joking.
swag pack.
You're joking. I was that close?
Yeah. 0.030 seconds close, if I remember correctly.
You know, I should have gotten dirty. Ah. Yeah.
Should have put the block on him, parked it in front of him.
Yeah. Yep, maybe. I replayed that moment every day over the last week. Seriously. I have not been able to rewatch that moment since then because it's just torturous.
That close, $50 in the SimSeeds swag pack, courtesy of our friends at SimSeeds to All-Star Race winner Kyle Trudell, who will line up 14th for this restart. Lights out on top of the pace car. Let's see how this one goes. Your top 12 didn't pit. Andrew Friedage is 13th. He's the first car on fresh tires. Green flag back in the air.
Tom Ray did not waste any time there. Went just about as soon as the pace car pulled off. Now, I've already getting a little bit of a nudge from Nick Silver behind. Kyle Kamer, though, caught napping in turn one. Second place clears around the outside line. And looks like Nick Silver will be doing the same. Oh, Kamer slides way up. And that causes Adam de Blasio to scramble just behind.
And now he's going to try to squeeze out the 21. De Blasio trying to work down to the inside, wanting to fight with Kamer for the battle in fourth and fifth. They touch now, won't matter. Yellow flag behind. Trey Browning is into the outside wall. It is the second time tonight that the 18 Toyota has been involved in an incident, and we will see what happens here. It's back in traffic. Browning was 31st at the time of the yellow.
Well, I think this one, we were talking a little bit about which one might have been at fault a little bit there, how Trey Brown was debating this on the first caution he was into the wall. I think this one, and I think you'll agree with me on this one as well, Evan, it's a little more cut and dry with this one here. Nicholas Mara seems to be at the root of the cause for this one. And what is the old phrase that comes, especially in oval racing? Cautions breed cautions, I think, is the term. And there you see it, Nicholas Mara giving a bit of a bump there to the left rear quarter panel of Trey Browning, and that's all she wrote. That's a hard hit to the outside wall as well, though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that cut and dry, just because Browning was 3 wide with Bradley Burke and Rhett McBride. So he's in the middle of the racetrack entering the corner. Mara's down on the bottom of the racetrack. And then, I mean, it looks like Mara holds the bottom, and Browning is almost giving up on the 3 wide and trying to lift and check up in line and comes down. So they just kind of end up in the same spot. Mara's coming from behind, but I don't think he's expecting Browning to make that move from the middle of the racetrack down to the inside. So either way, second time tonight, Browning has ended up in the fence, and we are under another quick caution flag on the afternoon. And I believe the race leaders hadn't gone to the stripe, so we may be up for our first single file restart of the afternoon.
No.
So I kind of want to just point this out there as well. Remember, we went for about, I think it was, half an hour or so when we got the first 60 laps, so in 30 to 40 minutes. We've made it almost twice that amount, and we haven't even made it another 20 laps since then. So these drivers were getting closer and closer to the halfway point on the clock. We're still well over that on laps. So I think if we can run greener, we can still handle another caution or two, and we should still be good to the end. But, I mean, these guys have to be careful here. I mean, we're now seeing the cause of what happens when you're really clean for the first portion of the race because everybody's being nice and careful just to make it there. Now, though, people are getting more and more concerned about going for these positions because they've seen how hard it is to pass in a later run. So what do you start to do now in these later runs? Because, I mean, the more the caution come out, in my opinion, that means the more people are going to be desperate because they have to make this position up now because they're burning these laps under caution, and they can't make those positions up under yellow.
Hey, guys, strategy play right now. We're going to be restarting with what? 60... Can I do math?
Maybe
62-ish. That's
We're at
enough.
64 and a half to go. So
that's enough for everyone that just came down into the pits to go, I think, the rest of the way if it stays green.
in the first car off of pit road who just pitted is Kyle Kamer. Dylan, you're down there as well. So even if you get the yellows, is this going to be the bank to try to stretch this out?
I mean, you can see how much quicker fresh tires are compared to worn tires, even if it's 10 laps. I mean, it's a no-brainer that if we're in the last stage of the race, you should go for tires, I think. But if it goes green the rest of the way, this can be it.
We will see as the plot thickens with the strategy. This is now caution flag number 4 on the evening. Caution flag this evening coming lap number 55, 66, 76, and 82. So closer and closer each interval through. Lights are out on top of the pace car. Sean Casto to the outside. It will be a single file restart. Dylan, I know that's not what you wanted at the All-Star. Is it even something that, I mean, based on your strategy, would a single file restart not help here? If you want things to go green, in theory, it'll spread them out a little bit more.
But is it as fun?
I don't know. Maybe victory. I would say victory lane's fun at the end of the night, no matter how you end up.
My friends, victory lane is not happening for me.
Said that at the All-Star. It was pretty close.
There were 18 drivers, Matt Danton, Andrew Frinas.
They were just afraid of you.
Actually, where they?
We agreed on the podcast that Matt was afraid to show up because he didn't want to get shown up by Nick and Matt. So I think that's why Danson wasn't there in attendance for the All-Star. But all the big hitters back in competition tonight for round number 13 of this 2021 SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series in single file on the fence for Sean Casto to get us back underway.
Couple of guys already looking to go side by side way deep in the field as a result of some midfield checkups. The front grouping, though, looking very clean off of turn number 2. De Blasio looking to fend off Brandon Bowie for 4th place on this restart. Bowie makes a very easy pass. De Blasio almost made it too easy as Mariusz Laczynski almost had his look up the inside as well.
And doing his part to look up on the bottom of the racetrack is Daniel Eberhardt is caught up to the race leader. There's Chris Rabel and Andrew Ferdinand putting to work his fresh tires on the 88 Ford. Fresher tires, not the freshest. There's about a trillion different tire strategies right now, so bear with us. Ferdinand is our 9 laps old. All the cars in front of him are more than 20 laps old, so he's fast enough as is on an equal playing field. Don't be shocked if Ferdinand gets into the party, but here's the battle for the race lead I mentioned. Eberhardt caught up to Casto. Silver in the mix as well from 3rd. They fight with 61 laps to go.
Battle very much on, and now Eberhardt going to take this one around the outside of turn number 1. Sean Casto cannot fend him off, so Eberhardt's number 94 Mustang goes to the points. Nick Silver trying to look around the outside of Sean Casto in his Toyota Camry. He's going to make that one work on a very easy pass around Sean Casto, and now has to try to run down that number 90 machine as Sean Casto continues to fall further and further out of the podium positions.
A lot of color in that battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Those Keep It at Real Esports cars with the Pride colors on board. Keeping things fresh in the battle, and as well different strategies I find interesting amongst the teammates. Casto going to be the loser at all of this because it was Silver who went through to 2nd, Bowie to 3rd, Mariusz Laczynski for the moment 4th, but I'm not sure how long that'll last because Andrew Ferdinand, Dylan Jones, and friends on fresher tires are rolling, trying to find a way through. As you can see, Jones going to go up top at a 52, Ferdinand to the inside of Laczynski.
We're trying to look down the inside of Laczynski here. Can he make this one work? He was really defending to that 03 off of turn 2. Not going to be able to fend off the 88 for long, though, as he is going to be dropped to the bubble spot at the top 5. Continues to try, though, and fight that outside groove at turn 4, but it's all going to be in vain here. Freenach is no doubt probably going to take this one away. Or is he? Looked at the 03, actually hanging really tough on the exit of 1 and 2.
Doing his best and making the 88 car work for it. How about Mariusz Laczynski putting in the work? 19th in the points coming into this evening with the top 5 and 3 top 10s on the year. Trying to be an upset for a potential trip into the postseason. He's going to need a strong set of 7 races after this or a win to make that happen, but he has kept himself in the conversation. But eventually, Freenage wins out not only that fight, but as well the fight for third, easily around Brandon Bowie to take over third. Now he sets his sights on silver in second, and Eberhardt for the race lead.
So Freenage at the moment just on that bubble spot for the second position. If he can manage to get that run, this could be big here for the overall battle for the race win. Just behind All-Star winner Kyle Trudell, fends off Dylan Jones for 7th place. The 20 car, though, not done fighting this one out either. However, he is not able to get as big of a run up in turns 1 and 2. Trudell is going to find the inside of Leschinski here. The 03 also not able to really defend.
And here's Dylan Jones, who has been pretty quiet so far this evening. Started 31st, did not qualify. That's to be expected for the driver of number 24. Dylan, always a competitive driver in this Cup Series, but not playoff eligible after not competing for the opening half of this regular season. So just here for wins. Allows him the ability to not have to crunch numbers and points race, can just start from the back and test his driving ability. Work his way through the field. Second season in a row. Dylan Jones has missed the first couple of weeks. Last year, he just made it into the playoffs, but the minimum starts won't happen this year, but always a hot competitor. And he is on the, not the same strategy as Freenage, but he's actually on the same strategy as the guys around him. His tires are just as old as Leschinski and Rabel that he's fighting with, but he's able to put it to him and for the race lead without much firework. Andrew Freenage gets by Eberhardt, but here comes the 90, muscles his way back to the bottom.
Freenage tried to fend him off through that tri-oval, was not able to get down there though, so Daniel Eberhardt now goes down the inside, but just doesn't have anything for her on the inside off of turn 2. Finally, Freenage clears, and I think this time it will be for good for the race lead, unless Daniel Eberhardt can really try something in the later stages of this run. For now though, Freenage's lead is very much secure. Starting the race later and later into the afternoon as well over the Nashville Super Speedway, which means the temperatures are starting to fall as well. We talked about it was about 105 degrees earlier today, down to just 89, and of course with some cloud cover over the track as well. The sun's starting to dip below. It's just past 5 o'clock p.m. in Sim time, so the track temperatures continue to fall. I think that's why these guys are getting a little more aggressive as well as the track continues to stable out in their favor.
And it's something we talked about as well a couple of times this year. I don't know if it's a rule change, but a format change with all these races being half distance of NASCAR Cup Series events in iRacing. You could actually make the time of day, or as I think iRacing refers to it, the sun acceleration multiplier. Just say time of day. You can make it move twice as fast, right? So time is passing at 2 times the speed, and because this race is half the length of a Cup race, we cover the same amount of time of day in the sim. So that's why you have a race that started in the sim at about 3 o'clock. It's been racing for about an hour, but 2 hours have progressed. We're not going to get all the way to the point where the sun completely sets and the lights turn on. It was really fun watching the truck race last Friday under the lights here at Nashville, but it will continue to affect the racetrack, affect grip and all that, and that's why that change was put into effect. As we see the number 2 is Sam Nieto side by side with
we got a wreck on the front stretch. William Schmidt, and I believe, couldn't see quite who it was, but it might have been a Mara brother that got into him.
Schmidt is around it. It was Nick Mara, yeah. 2 cars towards the rear, and I think it just started with a mistake from Nick. I saw him out of control. Let's take a look. Just tapped the fence, and as he was trying to hang onto that car, William Schmidt was the odd man out.
Yeah, that is so unfortunate. I mean, William Schmidt, he was just as a bystander there. You really can't blame that on Nicholas Mara, though. I mean, obviously he's going to take the fault for it, but I mean, you can't blame him for taking out Schmidt. I mean, he had that wheel turned to the right. There was nothing he could do in that situation. He was trying to keep it out of him. It just, unfortunately, no dice on him.
How you like that, guys?
I like that for the first time tonight, a driver has claimed responsibility for the incident, so I don't have to review it post-race. Nick Mara claiming that one, so he'll take the penalty point and the EOL penalty. But how does this affect strategy? Race leaders looking to pit road. Do the drivers who just topped off and got to that fuel number want to pit? I think the run was long enough. And I think most everybody coming down pit road, Kyle Kamer, Grant Davis, some of the bold drivers, Matt Danson to stay out. But other than those few, everybody else in, guessing it's going to be for foreign fuel.
No surprise there, but we're within 50 laps. There's no reason why you should not come in, get your last set of tires, top it up on fuel, run it from here to the end. This is the perfect strategy that we've been seeing all day long. I want to point out as well, there was almost a collision coming into pit road as well, and it all started, I believe, when it was Brandon Bowie who checked up and stepped the back end out to avoid Nick Silver, who had checked up. That caused Jones, Leschinsky, and Nieto to have to scatter. Nieto almost went off into the grass as a result.
The close calls. Frenage wins the battle off of pit road inside of the final 50 laps in the SimSeats 200. So 5 total drivers stay out. Kyle Kamer, Grant Davis, Matt Danson, Rhett McBride, and Sean Kalist. Of those, 1, 2, 3, and 5 are on 19-lap-old tires. McBride in 4th is on 24-lap-old tires. There's the replay of Nieto and Leschinsky on pit road.
I was on board for Leschinsky, and you had seen Jones shoot out to the left just a brief second before. There's a late taken down to pit road. I believe that was one of the lap cars of Tom Moreno to come on down, and in fact it is. It looks as though a couple other guys might elect to take that wave around here. I know Kyle Kamer is staying out, which, like we talked about, was a very bold call. He was looking to come down and faked out at the last possible second.
Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more checking up and maybe some damaged hoods and bumpers on this restart. I don't know if it's just because of how
you mentioned it on the last restart that there was a lot of checking up.
I did, yes. Last restart, unfortunately, I got into the back of Danson. He slammed the brakes. Something else was happening in front of him. Had to stay in for around 30 seconds worth of repairs. But happened to me the restart before with Jaron Wymaster. I mean, again, it's no one's fault. It's just a bunch of, it's the accordion effect, right? Everyone is just coming together, and I don't know if it's because, like you were saying earlier in the broadcast, that we're looking at this track and we're thinking, you know what, this looks like an intermediate. We're about to go here. But then we hold up a little bit because the straight, I mean, I think I heard on the Cup Series broadcast, the front stretch is longer than the Charlotte front stretch. But in general, the turns are extremely tight. That's why we were talking about it drives like a short track. So that all considered, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people are looking at the track, seeing what's in front of them and saying, hey, we should be going now. It feels like an intermediate, but it's shorter than it. So people are going earlier. It's just in general, a little bit of confusion everywhere.
And to that point, you know, we talked about the shape of the racetrack, which plays so much of a factor in that. That's why the front stretch tri-oval, I guess, if you will, here is so tight. It's almost like a, is it Kansas or Kentucky? I think it's Kentucky where it's the huge tri-oval grass. Like a lot of places, Charlotte, there's grass, but it's not that big because that bank on the front stretch isn't that big. Yeah, so I think it's Kentucky, the other one I'm thinking of, where because that tri-oval's much tighter of a turn because that angle off of the corner just makes it wider. That's why you see
already checking up here.
Longer distance. But we're back to 2x2 at least for this attempt. It'll have 31 cars on the lead lap and 33 cars in the show. Only Tom Moreno down 1 and William Schmidt -2, the only cars off of the lead lap. Your top 5 stayed out. Andrew Freenage lead car, fresh rubber. He is on the outside of row number 3 in his number 88 Ford. Pace car off. Kyle Kamer from 33rd on the grid. Gonna get a crack at the race lead. 44 laps to go from Nashville.
Checking up again, guys.
Not this time, or not this as bad. This time, Wow, I cannot talk almost done. And not as bad this time around as it was the last time they went double foul restarts. 3 wide already, though. Sean Kalis dropping like a stone, losing himself almost 10 spots in one corner. 4 wide just behind down the backstretch.
And that is what 20 lap fresher tires do, but it all falls apart into the outside wall. And a caution flag is the 2 machine involved in this one, Sam Nieto. Right off of the restart, it'll lead to another single file restart coming up. They were 4 wide down the back straightaway, and I think it was Leschinski who just overdrove it, and he does claim responsibility.
Oh, that's such a shame, guys. I mean, we were talking about it before. I cannot believe that Sam has not won a race yet. He is one of the fastest drivers. It just always seems like he is the most, he is the unluckiest driver in this entire field. That's a shame for him.
Now, the night where the car had speed, and it will not happen this evening, involved in an incident. Honestly, the damage isn't that bad for what I thought it would be. The back end is hurt. I would always prefer to have bumper damage on the back than the front, but the back end totally missing is going to force him to pit road, and track position late in the race just not going to work out. Leschinski also going to have a tough night ruined for him, guys. I was just talking earlier about how, he's a bubble driver, needs a good run in the second half of this regular season to maybe contend for a win, get a couple more top 10s in there to point his way in. A 14th would have been huge for Mariusz Leschinski's playoff hopes. Instead, he claims the yellow. He's going to drop all the way down to the end of the lead lap, put him at about 31st for the restart. And I'll do the math on it just to check. 14th place in the race. Just, to emphasize what the difference on points is. 14th point in the race. 14th would score 23 points. 31st would score 6. Now, he does have 40 some odd laps to try to make that up, but that is a substantial swing.
This is once again throwing things up in the air. That single file restart that we saw did help things slightly. We did see ourselves about another 10 laps of action, but it is also worth noting that we have not seen a long green flag run since the first 52 laps of the race, and it's at the moment where that is going to be the longest green flag run. So far, the second longest one was the one that we just had. Every other run, we have not seen more than 10 laps of green flag racing because these guys, they just push so hard on these restarts, and they just end up running each other over in the process.
I'm telling you guys, we're seeing this as an intermediate. I cannot stress that enough. It drives so different than a normal intermediate track, but it looks like one, so everyone is going into each corner driving it like one. You just can't go almost wide open. I mean, like you could at an Atlanta, at a Charlotte, sort of at Texas. You just cannot do that. You can't drive it in deep. Like, you've got to get on the brakes. Evan, you were so spot on when we were talking earlier about how this drives like a short track. It's so much like that. I don't know how to stress it enough.
And how does this compare to some of the other larger tracks like this where you run this same package? I mean, is it like, how much of it is package? How much of it is track?
A lot of it is package. Honestly, Evan, I'd have to say it's both. I don't know.
The fair answer.
I don't, because we haven't driven at a track like this before, but at intermediates, we haven't in a long time driven a track with a lot of horsepower. So it's kind of like, it's both. You really can't say, because we are having to get on the brakes. We are gaining a lot of speed on the straightaway, on the front stretch, curve, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, with how tight the turns are and how low relatively speaking, the banking is at 14 degrees, it's a unique combination that no track before has been able to prepare us for.
Always fun, as I mentioned off at the very top, when you get something new to the service and new to a schedule. Yes, it's an old track being brought back. Of course, first Cup race there over the course of this last weekend, but it's fun when tracks get added that are different. So fun to mix things up and see what these drivers can do. The lights are out on top of the pace car because that last incident was within 1 lap of the restart. We are going to be single file for this one.
On.
There's a wreck in turn 3.
Guys,
but they are going to go green, so this could be a little bit messy as your race leaders look for the green flag at a turn 4.
Exactly what I just said was going to happen, guys. The checkups still, people just not understanding it back here. That was a brutal checkup. I think that was Trey Browning going around. If he didn't go around, he was destroying my race. Oh, we have a wreck. Oh, he saved it. What a save.
Cody Harris, what a drive there for the number 6 off the restart.
He had a lot of help, and that thing was yawed out about 45 degrees. But Cody Harris from 14th position saved that race car. He will continue on. In the end, it's going to cost him about 8 positions, but all that he cares about is he's still in this race. And up at the front, fresh tires, Andrew Friedage bullies his way past Kyle Kamer, and he will go back to the race lead.
So a very messy restart all the way around, right from Trey Browning, ending up with his check. We'll take a look at that now. Like I said, just a big field checkup, and he just locked the brakes and slammed the wall, trying to avoid him. Now the question is, did anybody get penalties as a result of that? I don't think anybody did, and rightfully so, as a result of people having to check up. 3 wide with Matthew Mara, Braden Whitaker, and Sean Casto, with these guys almost making contact between Mara and Casto in first place. They did, it says Dylan Coyle.
Multiple times.
I want to see if we can get a second look at the Cody Harris save, just so it can be documented, because it was an incredible piece of driving. There it is. There's the touch, and I don't even know if he ever got out of the throttle. That is a certifiable save of the year candidate. I'll have to bust out the 99 times out of 10 quote for that one. That 99 times out of 10, that's a wrecked race car. But instead, Cody Harris hangs on. He drops to 23rd, but he's still in the show. And you're looking at the 3, Nick Silver trying to get P5 away from Kyle Kamer on the inside.
I tell you what, with how these guys are racing right now, there's no way they make it longer than 20 laps. That's my number at the moment. These guys are racing so hard. They've been beating and banging. It's turning more into one of those short track races. We talked about this is an intermediate course. That race is like a short track. We've seen it kind of flip both ways throughout the course of the day, but the attrition rate has settled in so much since that first third of a race. Kyle Kamer, though, he's doing a good job to try and weather that storm just up in front here, trying to fend off Thomas George for 5th.
And no matter what is happening in this race, with just the yellows and the strategies and the tires, it seems like Andrew Friedage can't be stopped. He always ends up on the top of the running order. Doesn't mean that the show, everybody else isn't good. You can see this battle. Danson slotted back a little bit up at the outside. A couple of passes coming through. Lariah and others try to work their way back to the front, but I've just been waiting for that one time the yellow flag is a difference maker, and it seems like no matter what, that 88 car has been able to overcome it this evening.
Jeremy Miller and Kyle Kamer looking to do battle here. Joseph Tice, meanwhile, as you can see on the timing boards, kind of all over the place at the moment, as he is having some apparent connection issues. And, well, that's all being well documented as well, isn't it? So, a couple of drivers having some struggles out here, some more so than others, some more technical than they are actual racecraft-wise. Of course, the technical problems are always the ones that are, I would say, a little more terrifying from time to time.
Guys, I hope you guys heard the genuine fear in Sam Nieto's voice when he said we were going 3 wide.
He was afraid. There's been that's probably the 6th or 7th 3-wide moment tonight. We've had a couple of 4s, and just sounding like, based on the driver radio, that these guys are working hard all throughout the field. And there is some sketchy racing. Everybody giving it everything they got, which is 30 laps to go this time by. If you're going to push, now is the time to do it. And it's clear these drivers are going no holds barred.
At the same time, it's worth saving some tires right now, because if we do go green for the rest of it, which I don't think we will, then there's going to be something to be said in the last 20 laps for fresher tires.
And I think at least most of the cars in the field still have a set available if they want it. I'm only showing a majority of the cars have been to pit road 3 times. Not that sure the likes of George and Stanford and others who have been down 4 times have actually got tires all 4 times, but certainly a possibility based on all of the mixing of strategy that we have seen in this race thus far. But tires still available on pit road, or do you just try to preserve yours and stay out if you get another yellow to the end of this race? They had, this race from the beginning, we went 55 laps without a caution flag. Since then, the longest green flag run we've seen was 10 laps, but these drivers working pretty good right now. At lap 122, there's Cody Harris, who clearly didn't scrub up or heat up the tires too much on his big save, because he's making some passes. Move Harris back into 15th as he tries to make up for all those spots lost, and they leave a battle behind him where Matthew Mara up to 16th, racing around David Washington. Haven't talked much about that 98 tonight.
Oh, and Cameron nearly scraping the outside wall there off of turn number 2. Just again going to show how hard these guys are having to work at the moment with their machines. The track is continuing to cool as well. 85 degrees Fahrenheit now from the 105 or so that it was earlier today when it was at its peak, and with just 27 laps to go. I think that's we've been seeing the track getting more and more races as time goes on. That is surely in part as to why these guys are starting to lose the patience. They don't have to work the cars as much. Not saying they don't have to work them at all, but it's a lot less effort to put in to actually fight in the track than it was at the start of this race. Now they can focus more on fighting each other. Speaking
There's
of which,
Jaron Winemaster. Yeah, speaking to him, there he is. The 48 has did a great job tonight, coming up, coming down, working his way through the fields, and is in a top 10 spot at the moment, just now getting passed by Miller. So he'll fall down to 11th spot. That's the number 21 of Adam de Blasio on the inside. Jeremy Miller up top, and I mean, geez, look at the 27 pinch of that 21 down, giving him basically no room at all.
And that's why some of these guys are able to get these good runs here out of turns 2 and 4. It's because they're pinching these guys down so much as Winemaster nearly runs de Blasio over. You see Miller trying to do the same too. Winemaster just at the apex of turn 2 because it prevents that inside line from being able to get the hammer down, because they have to lift up the throttle more and more while waiting for the run to come, because they can't just push up or they're going to run into the guy just there outside. Miller is going to lose that to Winemaster. It seems like Jeremy Miller is starting to struggle a little bit. He was just bumped out of the top 10, and now he's going to go so far as to almost push Chris Ramble onto the apron.
He has not been incentivized to give room. Jeremy Miller has been racing at 110% full tilt all afternoon long, and has paid off. He's been able to maintain his about a top 10 running position for the most of this event. So goes to say that if you want to take those risks and you want to gamble, that there is some reward in that for you.
We saw that
it's just risky.
Well, we saw that earlier today with Matt Danson and others in that pit call that they were taking after that first pit stop window. Of course, they were also kind of banking on it being a repeat later on in the race. It has certainly not been that way. We have, I believe this is actually now going to be officially our longest green flag run of the night so far, aside from the first 50 laps once we cross the line about the lap or two here, which goes to show just how much the attrition rate has really started to set in. We had a lot of cars that were still looking clean even after that first caution. That's not so much the case anymore.
Look at Castro doing his best to hold it low and working well with that limited space that Miller's been given to him there. Bobbled off a 2 a little bit, nearly touched the number 27. They stay side by side. Castro drives it in hard to turn number 3. It's a little bit of a slide job. Here comes Harris now to the inside. The 6 car making moves. This is a 3-way battle for 13th position on the back. And don't look now, but at the front of the field, this race may not be decided. Kyle Trudell has been closing on Andrew Friedage lap after lap, and he is now within striking distance of your championship leader.
Trudell won the All-Star race by only just over Dylan Coyle just 1 week ago.
Shush.
He could get himself a win here and maybe pick up a win here in the points this time if he can get a run around Andrew Friedage. Daniel Eberhard, though, is a serious contender as well. He's been sticking right with Trudell and been allowing that number 7 car to pull him in towards the 88. So it still isn't over here in this fight. There it could be that third contender, the 90, that could get his hat in the ring as well.
Kyle Trudell, a driver who has been strong this year. We talked about Michael Araya, right? 4th in the normal points, but when you weight that with wins, he's down to 10th, right? Kyle Trudell is similar boat. He's 6th in normal points, but with wins factored in, he's 11th. Not a driver who I would consider needs to be worried about making the playoffs. If he can perform over the course of tonight and the next 7 races like he did in the opening 12 weeks of this regular season, he's fine. But how much would he love to get a race win? 4 top 5s, his second most out of anybody in the series. His 7 top 10s is third most. But he is yet to get a race win in 2021, and he's got a real good look at doing it tonight.
Major problems for Cody Harris, currently waiting to potentially serve a black flag. He got slammed by the 48 car of Wymaster, who made contact with Eric Stanford. That slammed the 6 car fully sideways and down to the pit road. So it was an unsafe pit entry, which has just since been cleared. He managed to rejoin the track in a safe manner. There was no caution to stay green. That was at the tail end of lap 130, but that is going to effectively ruin Cody Harris's hopes for a top finish tonight.
Yeah, he was fighting back from the big save, but there was nothing that he could do there. There it is, Winemaster sideways, hip checks the 6 car into the grass, and there is the penalty. But he ends up on pit road. It has been cleared, so he does not have to serve the black flag because it was not an illegal pit entry. That's not what he was trying to do. He simply just got hit off of quarter number 4, so Harris is going to be able to continue, but the contact itself has dropped him all the way to 31st position. Which is at the back of all of the cars on the lead lap. So tough break for Cody Harris late in this race. The battle for the lead rolls on. And don't forget, last time we saw Friedage go for the lead at the start of this race, right, 30-some-odd laps into it, he made that initial takeover onto Michael Araya. How much it allowed the driver's third position on back to be able to close on in. If these top 2 fight, don't sleep on Daniel Eberhard in third. I mentioned how he needs a couple of strong points weeks. Yes, with a win, but not currently meeting the top 25 of the points mark that he needs to for that win to count for the postseason. He sits third with a lot of points waiting for him. He would almost, I think, rather just take P3 and not want this excitement to play out. You got 6 cars within 1 second of the race leader with 14 laps to go.
And there's Brandon Bowie going to make that run on Eberhard, take away the podium position. So Eberhard is still in these fierce fights as well. Now, this is good for the top 2 here. The more these guys are fighting out behind them, the more room they have to duke it out for themselves, up for the race lead. Dylan Jones decides not to get the run on Eberhard, decides to let him back in the line, even though he probably could have made that run if he really wanted to. Nick Silver still waiting in the wings, just in the number 3 car, just in the background as well. And now Jones is going to try to fight the inside of Eberhard out through 3 and 4. Dylan Jones did a good job, goes all the way to the bottom, while Eberhard tries to carry the momentum on the outside line. That's only going to cause Eberhard to clear, though, and it's going to put him within striking distance of Nick Silver. Slots back in the line behind, tries to go for the over-under on the number 3 car, but Silver keeps that door tight shut. No room for Eberhard to squeeze in.
So Eberhard can't make move that time by, but will stay in line and try to set him up once more. Those top 6 cars still within a second of the very top position. Friedage has done a good job at defending Trudell after Trudell made that big charge. Based on the intervals about a dozen laps ago, I would have bet that it was a surefire thing that Kyle Trudell was going to make a pass for the race lead. But we talked about saving. I said, well, a lot of drivers look like they're going full bore, and Dylan reminded us, hey, some guys may want to save. It's a healthy length run to the end of the race, some 35 laps since we restarted, and clearly Friedage has kept a little in the back pocket.
Laps to go. He's also starting to catch up to Cody Harris as well in that number 31 machine, currently lapping about 3-4 tenths a lap quicker, which also brings up another question. Will lap traffic play a factor? It absolutely will, and this is going to be the answer. The only question is, how much of a factor will it play? Because Cody Harris, he's in a battle with Trey Brown as well for the 30th position on track, and I think at the moment, Cody Harris is looking to recover whatever points he can muster.
Brown and Harris, some of the drivers fighting throughout the field, way back in 30th. Matt Danson has had a rough night, but he has worked hard for this whole thing. Strategy allowed Danson to get a little bit higher up, got some damage. Look at this battle that he's in. Danson,
he's going crazy
Burke,
right now.
Coyle, Moreno, Whitaker. I mean, everybody working hard, no matter where you are in the field.
Oh, look out! Oh, Everhart sideways on the front stretch, hard to the outside wall. Caution flag waves. That was wow. He was trying to get past Cody Harris, who had slowed up just to let him through. He ended up getting sideways then because he had jerked the wheel hard left in an effort to try to keep it out of him and just overcorrected.
And what did I just say? Daniel Eberhardt needs points. He'd probably be happy if this race just ended while he was in third. So he just didn't need to pick up a spot. He would have just been fine. And now he will drop all the way to the rear of the field. I can't figure out why Cody Harris decided to slow that much, but right in the line, Eberhardt, who got him out of shape.
I think he was trying to keep the outside line open right by the wall because he knows that's where you need to be. That's where he's been running all day himself. So he tried to keep that section of track clear, and unfortunately, he really couldn't. That's a very tough call to make on that one, in all honesty here, because while Eberhardt did spin on his own, you could argue he was trying to avoid running into the side of Harris, which he very much was. So how do you assign a blame on this one? That almost seems like it could just be labeled as just one of those racing deals. It sucks, but it happens from time to time.
I mean, Cody Harris was doing 80 miles an hour in the corner, and I don't think any car should be doing 80 miles an hour. So we'll see how that one goes. When a couple of people, myself included, take a look post-race because nobody's claiming it. And here's your decision. Drivers down pit road. We talked about the availability of tires on pit road, and it is almost a unanimous decision to come down and get the freshies. It's been, the 35, 40 laps for the most part for those cars. I would expect everybody, if you've got tires, you are taking all four. Daniel Eberhardt, by the way, has claimed responsibility for the incident, so he'll get an end of the longest line of penalties. Back there anyways, doesn't really matter. Does anybody decide to gamble, though? Do they go with 2? Do they go with 4? Look at the race off of pit road. Sean Casto wins the race off pit road. 9.6 in the box. Dylan Jones and Brandon Bowie even further out in front, winning the battle off of pit road. They go for 2 tires. So it is just 2 for Bowie, Jones, Casto, and then Kyle Trudell, the first car out on 4, edging out Andrew Farinaj. But they will all chase Thomas George and Bradley Burke, who did not pit at all.
So this has really changed the complexity of this race up in a whole new manner. You got guys on, 0 lap old tires. Then you got guys on 40 lap old tires. Looks as though William Schmidt is going to be coming down. They are a lap down along with Daniel Eberhardt. So here's the thing here. We're going to be going green here. I'm thinking about 5 laps to go. One more caution there, Evan, and we're going to be having a green-white checker. So with that in mind, how crazy these restarts have been, how much do you think the odds are stacked against us that we end up having a GWC? Because I'm willing to bet pretty high.
Oh, yeah, there's a good chance that this race is going to need a little bit of extra time, and there is so much to unpack, right? George and Burke are on 40-lap old tires. They're going to be a hazard. I don't see any way they win this race unless we go 100 feet and get a yellow, and then go 100 feet and get a yellow 3 more times for the green-white checkered. I just don't think 40-lap old tires can hold off cars on freshies, but maybe it's not a play for the win. Maybe they just want to get a top 10 out of it. I still think that's a bit of a stretch, but who knows? And then, of course, you have the cars on 2. How good's that going to be for Bowie, Jones, and Casto? And then it's not just as simple as, well, Ferdinand has got the 4, he'll drive through, because Trudell and Ferdinand were exchanging fastest lap back and forth before the caution flag came out. And Kyle Trudell took 4 tires, Nolan, and beat Andrew Ferdinand off pit road. So you've got the cars with none, the cars with 2, and Kyle Trudell now ahead of Andrew Ferdinand. Trudell going to be on the outside of row 3, Ferdinand on the inside of 4. That could get very wide in the run down to turn 1.
This is going to be very entertaining here. I mean, what a way for, the RealSimRacing Sim Seats Cup Series to kick off the opener, the first ever race at the Nashville Super Speedway here. This has gone about as good as you can have it here. So the front row locked out by drivers on old tires. 3 wide from the lead? Absolutely. 100% gonna happen. I'd be shocked if it didn't. 4 wide? Well, it's probably gonna result in a wreck. I'd still say that's a very big possibility as well. We've seen it work before.
We have seen many a strategy be a race changer. Andrew Ferdinand, the best car tonight, challenged early by your pole sitter Michael Araya, challenged late by Kyle Trudell. Those last 2 names will restart 6th and 7th. This could get messy. Magic number is 4. 4 laps to go. This time by, if they get to the white flag, this race is official. If they don't, we will push into overtime, up to 3 attempts at a green white checkered overtime restart available if so needed. Pace car down and in. Thomas George and Bradley Burke with 43 lap old tires. Going to be the hazards at the front of the field. Let's see how this one shakes out. Looking for 4 laps to go. Green flag in the air. They get a jump, but immediately here come the cars behind. Bowie to the bumper. He'll look to the inside. Casto's in the grass behind the leaders as the 34 of Bowie goes to the race lead.
Brandon Bowie to the point. Here comes Dylan Jones up the bottom. Kyle Trudell, all-star winner, up the middle, just behind these guys. 3 wide for the 2nd position. Kyle Trudell gets through to the inside, but Bowie is well clear by half a second. Unless something happens, he might have just won this race.
Bowie on the 2 tires. Trudell first to break free on the 4 tires. The difference is 0.6 of a second. Bowie was the fastest last lap, but now Trudell's going to start to close a little bit. Kyle Trudell may want this to run out. Look at the 4 wide behind. George in the mix, de Blasio and others. There's no guarantee that this race gets back to the white flag. Trudell now slices a 10th off of Bowie's advantage.
He slices the 10th off, but that's not going to be nearly enough up in front with 2 laps to go. He's going to have to cut down 1/4 of a second every single lap. He just doesn't have the pace at the moment. He's having to worry more about defense from Dylan Jones just behind, who's still trying to get a run of the 20 car, maybe try to pick up another position. I don't know how, but I think they're actually going to make it back to the white flag.
They got to get through 3 and 4, looking for the white flag to make this race official. The gap is now down 0.3 of a second. Bowie sees the white flag.
Final lap, 1 car way up in the grass as looks like Matthew Martins had a big slide through the grass. He managed to save it though, and that was after they took the white flag, so will not have an impact on the ending of the race.
Here comes Trudell, 0.2 of a second. He may end up just 1 lap shy. He'll drive it into 3 and 4. Brandon Bowie holds strong. He'll get his 2nd Cup win of the season. Nashville goes to Brandon Bowie.
An all-star winner, Kyle Trudell. This time he finds himself in the runner position. Nick Silver to round out the podium. What a run. And a lot of contact for a lot of drivers late in the race and late in the run as well. Tough break for the likes of Sean Casto, who was up in the top 10 and got spun down immediately after the green flag went. And unfortunately, he did not have that caution flag that he so desperately needed to help him recover.
And surprised that Freitas struggled with 4 tires, wasn't able to get anything really. Finishes 7th, and Trudell broke through. I thought that the 3 laps that he had was going to be enough. And if this race was 151 laps, Kyle Trudell probably wins it. But Brandon Bowie with the late race 2-tire gamble on pit road gets his 2nd win of the season, a race winner in March at Homestead, and now the 3rd multi-winner 2021. Brandon Bowie wins the SimSeats 200. Here's a look high and above at the restart. You can see the wreck behind. Casto spins off to the bottom, and as Farinaj gets stuck in traffic with the outside line going slow, you can see the drivers down on the bottom where they pick up, and that's how Brandon Bowie made the drive through to the race lead. Here comes Trudell through traffic, but that whole shot, too much to overcome, and Brandon Bowie, your race winner tonight for the Nashville Superspeedway. Let's take a look at your SimSeats full race results tonight for round number 13 of this 2021 SimSeats RealSimRacing Cup Series. Brandon Bowie with the win, alongside with Kyle Trudell in second and Nick Silver third. We'll talk with all of those drivers in a moment. Dylan Jones and Jeremy Miller in the top 5. Michael Araya finishes 6th place in this one. The dominant car of the night, Andrew Ferdinand, caught out on the late race yellow, and strategy ends up in 7th, ahead of Adam de Blasio in 8th position. Brent McBride is 9th, and Eric Stanford is 10th.
San Diego finishes it out, first spot outside of the top 10 in 11th place, with Mariusz Laczynski in the 12th position. David Washington sits in 13th, with Kyle Kamer in 14th after a very up and down day for himself. Matt Danson going from 23rd to 15th is going to be in the 15th position. Ross Gato's in 16th. Chris Rabel and Jared Wymaster to finish out the first half of the field, with Steve Durham and Brady Whittaker to round out the top 11th to 20th.
Grant Davis, Dylan Coyle, Matthew Morris, Sean Kalis, and Thomas George, your top 25 at the end of this one, ahead of Bradley Berkman 26th. Trey Brown in a rough night for 27th. Tom Moreno 28th. Cody Harris 29th. Sean Casto is P30.
And then to round out the field, just behind all drivers a lap down, is going to be William Schmidt, Joseph Tice, Daniel Eberhardt, with Nicholas Mara, Trevor Valderrama, and Steve Soa not finishing the race. The lowest driver down, Steve Soa, 115 laps back. Fastest lap set by Kyle Trudell on lap 148. So Trudell was certainly on it in the closing stages.
Pushing late in this one, and that's big championship implications for Eberhardt. He was at a top 3 spot and said he'll only get 4 points to that, in 33rd, falls further and further down from the top 25 benchmark that he needs to qualify for the playoffs. That's a look top to bottom at your SimSeats full race results. Since 2009, SimSeats has been designing and fabricating high quality, made in the USA driving simulators, including motion systems, complete turnkey iRacing packages, and custom fabrication. Their customer base includes all racers from the amateur to the pro ranks, and everyone on the SimSeats team is a weekend racer too. Their passion for racing drives them to build better sim racing equipment. Join SimSeats for the thrill of racing at any time, in any car, and on any track by visiting sim-seats.com to learn more information. Let's head down to Nashville Superspeedway Victory Lane. We are stood by with the driver of the number 34, Brandon Bowie, your race winner in the SimSeats 200. Brandon, congratulations on this one. We know the car had speed, but honestly was not expecting this result. There's a late race yellow. Talk us through the decision to go for 2 tires.
Yeah, Evan, that was a great pit call by the strategist, Brandon Six. There, he called for the 2 tires. I'm be honest with you, I was a little nervous on that restart since we had 2 guys that stayed on old tires, and I knew if at any point if a caution came out, I was gonna be pretty much done. So I needed to stay green, and I was hearing cars spinning left and right behind me. And for some reason, the car didn't come out. So I don't understand why the car didn't come out, but I don't really care because I won the race. But it was, what a wild race that was, man.
Perfect circumstances. There's the yellow there. Those guys on 4 get another restart. They probably get you. If this race is a lap longer, Kyle probably gets you. But your second race win of the season. Going back to Homestead, you got the race win early. You guys have known for a while now that you're going to be in this championship. But even outside of the playoff points, which are weighted by wins, you guys have been one of the most consistent cars this year. This is your 5th top 5 of the year, your 7th top 10. That is top 3 in both categories for any driver in this series this year. So how big of a difference is a win? Obviously, you're going playoff racing, but what's more important? The 3 bonus points you get by this, or just the confidence by knowing you can get these things done?
I think just the confidence to know I can get it done. The last couple of races, didn't go as well as I thought. Charlotte, we ran out of fuel. That was just a overall good strategy, but in the long run, it kind of sucked, honestly. A couple other races where I just didn't put everything together and finish the race in the position that I probably should have. Coda comes to mind as well. So yeah, it's just, for me, it's just a matter of just consistency. Yes, I am locked into the playoffs, but in my opinion, in order to consistently be strong in the playoffs, you need that consistency. So, you could have a situation like Tony Stewart did, I believe it was 2011, where he just happened to get into the playoffs and he racks off, 5 or 6 wins or whatever and goes to win out the championship. So, you could have a situation like that, but in my opinion, that's a rare occurrence for that to happen. So, I strongly believe in being strong, consistent. Andrew is probably still the strongest guy out here to win this championship, and he shows it week in and week out. So, in order for me to build my confidence even more than kind of where it is right now, I need to run with him consistently every week. And I think once I do that, I feel this team can really contend with him for the championship.
Where do you feel like that difference is? Andrew with 4 wins, you and Matt Danson with 2 race wins, having been able to go head-to-head for 13 weeks now. Where are those points of improvement that you're still looking to figure out over the course of the next 7 weeks before we go playoff racing?
For me, it's got to be the long run. For some reason, this season, I've struggled a lot with the long run. My last season running with you guys in RSR, my strong suit was the long run. So, and of course, that's the build has changed and the way that the cars react and tires and everything has changed since then. So it's just a matter of me just figuring out what I'm comfortable with and then trying to consistently work on that to get better on it. And then once I feel like I'm kind of there, I really feel like I can really go out there and kind of win any race at that point.
We'll let you get out of here and celebrate, Brandon. We're getting set for a trip to Pocono next week. As we head there, sponsors and shout-outs, all those good folks. We're taking a look at that number 34 Toyota. Who makes it happen for you?
I got to thank the family. Got to thank the team, KIR, keeping it real. If you happen to go on Circle B, Diecast, or Plan B sales, make sure you type in KIR 2021 to get 20% off of, to get free shipping after spending $20. So make sure you check them out as well. This month was all about the month of Pride. And that's why, you see the rainbow colors and the love is love. So, I want to kind of give a shout out to, that whole, Pride and the whole idea of it. I love that, love is love and trying to bring everybody together and, that kind of situation. So I want to kind of, promote that and do things like that. I got to thank, you guys, RaceSpot and you, Evan, for, doing what you guys do for, the RealSimRacing, man. I mean, it's a challenge every Monday to come in here and actually battle with these guys. These guys are fast. These guys are hard racers. I'll be honest with you. There was a couple moments when I was ready to yell, but I had to keep my composure. So, but yeah, I mean that's. I guess I want to thank the competitors as well, because if they didn't play nice with me, I probably wouldn't be in victory lane.
I'll tell you what, Brandon, we appreciate having you and the entire team here racing with us on Monday nights. Congratulations again on the win. It's a good look at the car and a good message. It'll be all over the Facebook, Twitter, and the homepage of the website for the next week as that 34 car celebrates in victory lane tonight. Congratulations, and we'll catch you next Monday.
All right. Thanks, Evan.
Race winner tonight from the virtual Nashville Super Speedway. We will continue things on down the line. Kyle Trudell comes home in second position tonight, and I bet he wanted just one more lap. It's a runner-up for the driver of the 7. Kyle, congratulations on a good result, but I can't help but feel you felt like that one was just out of reach.
Yeah, thank you guys. Definitely, disappointing to be P2 and being so close there, and I've felt like I needed one more lap, and I could have gotten by Brandon there. So it's a little bit crushing to know that I probably could have won this race. But you know what? P2 is good. I know Brandon was talking about consistency, and I'll definitely take it.
Started 10th in this race, had some pretty consistent speed throughout. Of course, the decision at the end was to go for the 4 tires. Just kind of talk us through the night in general and what led up based on the kind of weird last 2/3 after we went green for the opening run, and then the yellows kind of kept the strategy so mixed up that it was kind of hard to tell who was on the right call.
Yeah, that first stint there with the green flag pit stops, that was, I was hoping for more of that throughout the race. We were in pretty good shape there, kind of slowly making ground. I think we made some ground up on that pit stop, and then the caution just kind of started flying. So it's important to just stay patient and not not overdrive when you get in those situations when the strategies kind of flip-flop back and forth. Come in and get tires, and you might be mired back in 14th or 15th. I think Andrew and I were back there at one point. So it was just trying to be patient, and once Andrew and I got out front there with Daniel, like the 3 of us, we were so evenly paced. I mean, it was pretty tough to try to run Andrew down. I mean, he's so consistent, and I think I learned a lot with just watching him drive as P2 right there. But I felt like I could have maybe caught him. But then passing him is another story. But yeah, a good run on all in all.
You guys are pretty comfortably into this playoff picture based on points. How important is it to you, if at all, to get a win, or are you guys pretty content with how the performances have been?
Oh, I want the win, man. Like I said, it's tough to take a P2 knowing that I was that close. But you know what? I'm just gonna try to build upon this, and hopefully the win will be on the way as long as I can stay in the top 5 like this. Get some good practice in. I felt like I kind of had good speed here right off the bat this week. So that probably won't be the case every week. But I think if it's Pocono we go to next, I'm really looking forward to that. I dig that racetrack.
Pocono is coming up next. It will not be a doubleheader. That was the backup in case Nashville didn't get onto the service in time. So just one trip out to Pocono. And it's set to be a very short sprint race. So what's the outlook for round 14?
Yeah, I mean, I like that racetrack. So I've always felt like I've kind of taken to it and have been pretty quick there. So as long as, of course, the package is going to be completely different. So, I think it's going to be the high downforce, low horsepower. And I much prefer this, with the low downforce, high horsepower. You gotta drive the car, and you're not so much at the mercy of the draft. So Pocono will definitely be interesting. Should we get some restarts that front straightaway? We might be 6 or 7 wide, next race. So looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, I heard a couple of rumors, talking about Pocono and the front straightaway. I've heard a lot of chatter on social that the Coke race there tomorrow night could be a little bit interesting. So could be a preview of what we'll see next Monday, Kyle. Appreciate you racing it with us. Anybody you want to say hi to?
Yeah, I'll definitely be tuning into that tomorrow. And thank you guys for broadcasting, putting this league on. Like I said last week, it's a real pleasure to race around all these guys. Super competitive. Only makes you better, as a driver. So I want to thank the field for being ultra competitive. I'll thank XPM, Extreme Performance Motorsports, and Mike for having me. And got Magnolia Woodshop here on the hood as well. So yeah, I just want to thank my teammates, thank RaceSpot TV for putting this on. Also want to thank my wife for giving me the time to do this. She's got a promotion here coming up, so I just want to wish her congratulations. And yeah, thank you guys.
Second place finisher tonight from Nashville, Kyle Trudell. Kyle, thanks for chatting.
Appreciate it.
Continue things on down to the pit lane. Nick Silver comes home in third tonight. Nolan's trackside with the driver of the 3.
Indeed I am. Well, Nick, you come up and join us in the booth. 17th to the final spot on the podium. The biggest mover of the drivers up there. A good 14 spots gained. So overall, very successful night for you.
Yeah, I'd say so. Not even quite sure how that happened. We just kept our nose clean, worked our way up there, had a really good long run car, and the chips just fell our way there at the end.
So we look over at how the race as a whole went. The first run was, of course, very clean. It was very orderly. Everybody was kind of, minding their own business. As soon as that first caution flew, though, that's kind of when it all went up in the air. The track temperature started to cool, and everybody started to get more and more racy with each other, and the attrition rate began to climb slowly but surely all the way up to the last ends of the race. So what do you think maybe contributed to the fact that everybody was getting so aggressive there, especially in the second half?
I don't know. I was pretty happy with it going green there at the beginning. Ended up working my way up a few spots, then caught that lead pack right there before green flag stop started. Ended up undercutting everybody, most of the people around me by 1 or 2 laps. And that really put me out front. I knew I was saving my tires more than everybody else, so I figured, I could handle staying in front of them, even with 2-lap older tires. And then when that yellow came out, and I was actually sitting P1, that couldn't have gone much better than it did. But I think, once the caution comes out, everybody kind of smells blood in the water and, tries to get all they can get on the restarts, and then that just leads to the domino effect.
We look forward to the next race, and of course, we were almost looking set for a Pocono doubleheader, but of course, Nashville Super Speedway did make it on to the iRacing service in time, so single race at Pocono. I believe it'll be scheduled for 65 laps in just 1 week's time. Now, of course, it's known as the Tricky Triangle for a reason. It's one of the most difficult 2.5-mile ovals there is in the entire world, arguably. It's definitely a track that does not race like the other super speedways of Daytona and Talladega. So what do you think the plan is going to be going into the 2.5-mile triangle that is the Pocono Raceway?
Well, unfortunately, with the package that they run there now, you're pretty much stuck. You can't really get away from anybody with the draft. So the key really is going to be to try not to get held up by anyone. If you try to make a pass, make sure that you can actually complete it within a corner, because there at Pocono, if you get stuck side by side or behind somebody slower, you can lose a ton of time. So it's just going to be about clean air and not losing time to the leaders.
Indeed, it will. Finding clean air will always be a struggle at a track like that, but no doubt with the performance you were finding today, you should be able to find yourself some clean air in no time. Before I let you go then, Nick, anybody that'd like to shout out for us for that number 3 machine?
I got to give a shout out to everyone on the team at Keeping It Real Esports, everybody at Plan B Sales, Circle B Diecast, Alan Elwood for making this great, Pride Month car. Love is Love, we're promoting that. And got to thank you guys for putting on a great show, and everyone, Evan and everyone at RSR for putting on this great league, and SimSeats for making it all possible.
And thank you, Nick, for taking the time to come on up and join us at the booth tonight. Congratulations on a very well-earned third-place finish here at the National Super Speedway. Best of luck in 1 week's time at Pocono.
Thank you.
And well, Evan, that will round out then the podium finishers. Your third-place finisher, Kyle Trudell, one of the bigger movers of the day as well. Like we discussed, up 14 positions at the end of the day. The highest mover out of anybody on the podium as well.
Yeah, big ups as he ends up plus 14. Dylan Jones just behind him, the biggest mover overall at plus 27. But a lot of big movers in this one. And another new track, right? We were talking about how Twin Ring was new last week. That was for different reasons. It was an exhibition event. We picked something different. This is a track that should be on the NASCAR Cup calendar for a couple of years to come until the Fairgrounds' future is decided. Nolan, I thought Nashville Super Speedway puts on a great show.
Oh, it absolutely did. I mean, this was an absolutely flawless race here tonight. I mean, we finished it all on lap, something that has been a bit of a struggle in some of the later oval races, most notably at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. But it's a very good race all the way around. I mean, this track ended up being, very successful. And I have a feeling we're going to be seeing it later on as well in future seasons of the RSR SimSeats Cup Series as well.
And also goes to show you the package is good, so please more of this package. That was a look coming up. We go to Pocono. This is an interesting run, Nolan, because tentatively, if Nashville didn't make it on the calendar in time, we would have done a doubleheader at Pocono. Well, NASCAR is doing a doubleheader at Pocono. That's why the NASCAR races there are short, right? It's 2 shorter races. Well, we're only running 1 Pocono race, but to stick with our typical theme, we're only running half the distance of what the Cup Series does. So it is a very short race at Pocono next week, only 65 laps long. It's kind of the only sprint-esque race of the year. Could be an interesting challenge.
Oh, it absolutely could be a very interesting challenge. I mean, it's always kind of struck me as odd. I mean, Pocono is just one of those tracks that you don't end up racing a lot. I mean, you look at the Truck Series. Usually when the Truck Series goes there, that race is only 150 miles long. They only race 60 laps there total. So we're doing more distance in this half-distance Cup Series race than we are 100% Truck Series race, which, honestly, it's something that you're not used to seeing a whole lot.
It is interesting, and that one going to be next Monday night. It'll be the 14th race of this 2021 campaign. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight from just outside of Music City. So on behalf of our entire team at RaceSpot TV and RealSimRacing, and for your broadcast crew tonight, for Hugo Luis downstairs, for our in-race reporter Dylan Coyle, for Nolan Rempel, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank all of you for tuning in and congratulate race winner Brandon Bowie, now a two-time winner this season. We're back next Monday, June the 28th, with the virtual Pocono Raceway for round number 14. That race and every race of the 2021 SimSeats Real Sim Racing Cup Series can be found exclusively here on RaceSpot TV. Until next time, good night from Nashville, where Bowie's now a two-time winner in 2021.